Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Know Your Gear live podcast number 243, and today is Christmas Eve. So that's the schedule change. That's why it's schedule change. Next Friday will be New Year's Eve, and it will be the same time as this week, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that is to just adjust to my family schedules and stuff like that that's going on, and that way we can still do the show. But also, I can kind of still have some of that time with the family. And today is going to be a little different show than normal. Maybe not. Maybe it will just be the same QA stuff. But I have some other stuff going on that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be interesting, at least. And also, a couple things. If you guys noticed, I started doing some more like interview videos, and how that transpired was my buddy Joe, who owns Rat Pack Records, kind of heard me mention interviews, and then he got some artists and got me in connection with another guy who's the manager for a lot of artists, and they came on the channel. And what happened was, if you guys notice, a lot of those videos were sponsored by Donner, the pedals and guitars. And today, what I was going to tell you was, they sent me a message, and I thought it was pretty cool. Apparently, they're working, whatever that's doing for them, those integrations where I just mentioned them, was doing really well, and they were giving you guys like 15% off. Well, I put a link down below today because they wanted to update it. They're going to update the future links to 25% off. So I know some of you guys like the Donner pedals and stuff because they're pretty good and pretty inexpensive, and so you get 25% off those. So that's an update I wanted to give you on those, and also thank Donner for sponsoring them. I think that's a great way for that kind of situation to work, right? It's not sponsorship in the way of like, hey, check out our gear and show it to people. It's more of a sponsorship of like, yeah, mention us when you're talking to other musicians, and it's a good way to get their name out there. As you know, they seem to be pretty, like I said, pretty aggressive about their marketing, and so they're working with social media types. Also, I decided to match them up, and just in case, I don't know why, but the Know Your Gear merch is also 25% off because I felt like, if they're doing 25, I should put a 25% code. So I did as well. So if any of you have been thinking about that stuff, now that that's out of the way, let me tell you what's going to happen today at some point in the show soon. As you guys know, I want to thank Guitar Crate, because what they did was I talked to TJ at Guitar Crate, and I said, what if we give away like 10 Guitar Crates during the podcast? And as you know, these podcasts are sponsored by the patrons, so it's not a sponsored deal. In other words, I mentioned Guitar Crate every week, but the exchange of that was so that they would give Guitar Crates to you guys. It was kind of like I decided that as long as it's my policy on the podcast, as long as I'm not getting paid or I receive any benefit for it, it's just about, why not give you guys stuff? So what's great about that is TJ had an idea, and I'm gonna do it. He also they do Guitar Crates where they send you a random pedal every month. I think there's like $100 pedal or $200 pedal, and he wanted to give one away. And I said, okay, let's give away a pedal. And then he came with this idea for Christmas Eve today, so we're gonna be doing it, which is today on the show, I'm going to unbox this pedal, which I have no idea what it is. I don't know if it's a distortion or a fuzz or an EQ or a delay. I'm going to unbox it, hook it up, play it for you guys, and then pick a winner to give one away. And I already, unlike before where I have no idea what I'm doing with the giveaways, I already know the question I'm going to ask, and I haven't have a prop. I'm all excited and ready for this to give one of these pedals away. I'm hoping the pedal is cool. Otherwise, if the pedal's not cool, don't try that hard to win it, I guess. Okay. I want to thank everybody for joining me, of course, today. I know some of you guys got stuff to do, and some of you guys may just enjoy the fact that this is normal day, normal show. So, I want to hit some questions and get into the flow of the show. And the first one I'm going to hit was somewhere. I'm getting there. Okay, so here was a question from Frank, who said he came early to the show and put a question. Frank said, Merry Christmas. He says, Phil, I'm going to teach my 20-plus-year-old nephew guitar. Best to teach him chords or well-known songs first. I obviously over the years I've seen every which way you can teach somebody, and there's going to be different philosophies on that. And being that he's a young adult or an adult and not a child, I would even say it's going to be different too. The question is, I always ask the student is, what do they want to get out of this? Now they're going to say they don't know, or they're going to be very, vague, because they probably don't know what they want. But what I mean by that is you can't just go, what do you want out of that? Like I just said, you got to kind of ask them some suggestive questions like, do you want to do this as a hobby for fun? And it doesn't matter if they change their mind later, because then they can always change the journey in which they learn later. But for instance, it's like, what do you see out of this? Do you see yourself playing some songs around the campfire? Do you see yourself jamming with somebody one day? Do you see yourself, just alone practicing for the fun of it, for calming enjoyment? You have to find, especially with an adult, there's got to be a goal. I love this story because it's true. We once had a student who came in. The man was 65 years old, and all he wanted to learn was, I think it was The River by Garth Brooks, okay, for his next anniversary. And he came in, and his one question to us was, can I learn the song The River? And he could sing. He sings pretty decent. He goes, I want to play it and sing it. I want to learn it in 1 year. And he goes, can you do that? And I said, yeah, of course. And he said, I just went to 2 places that told me no. And I said, well, yeah, no. If all you do is that song all day, and you go to one lesson every week, 52 weeks from now, somebody's helping you focus on that. And true story, of course, as you can imagine, he learned that song and played that song for his wife. And he did it. So that was his goal. Now, here's what's funny. After he did that, he didn't stop taking lessons. He was like, okay, I want to learn other stuff. So, in fact, I think he actually got it before that. And then he said, I'll keep going and learn other stuff. So that's my point. You got to find what their interest is, because this is where I'm going with this. That's really the success line. It's not how good you teach. It's how much they're interested in it, and what their success is, or what they view success in the instrument is. What is it they're going to get their joy from? Making music, learning an instrument, learning music theory. And so I like, as you guys know, analogies. And one of the analogies I like is with music, I find music a lot like cooking. There's 2 types of cooking, in my opinion. There's what I call salt to taste. It's people who literally cook by just kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but when it tastes right, I'll know it's good. And musicians kind of like hunt and peck around and do that kind of stuff and play a little stuff. They salt to taste play. There's nothing wrong with that. And then there are musicians who are like chefs who are like, I want to know why all these ingredients work together. I want to know why this changes the flavor of that. And so again, if you start out anyone on any particular journey, you might lose them. And again, back to the analogy, if I said, I really like Cajun food, and you're like, okay, great. Well, to learn how to cook, we're going to learn Italian. And they're like, yeah, I only eat Cajun food. So again, you got to find their goal. So I would talk to him, just see what his goals are. And if he doesn't know, just help him figure out what it is. And once you set that goal, then you can decide how you want to start teaching that. I'll be honest, when I started playing guitar, I had no interest in soloing at all. My very first guitar lesson ever, that was very clear. I was very clear. As a 15, 16-year-old kid, I told the teacher, like, in my mindset, I was going to be, my dream starting guitar was kind of like, I was going to be in a band one day playing behind somebody who was really talented. That was like, I already kind of saw that as a vision. And so when he was like, skills, shred, I was like, no, I just want rhythm. And then slowly I figured out, well, then really I should just be a bass player, because that's essentially what I'm doing too. I wanted somebody to do all that stuff, and I just wanted to hold down the music part. That's just what I wanted out of music, and that's just is where I am today. So, I don't know. All right, that's my suggestion, Frank. I hope that helps. Congratulations on getting somebody into guitar, though, and have fun, man. That's the best thing. I'm going to give advice to you. Have fun. More questions. I thought about drinking alcohol today. Oh, that's another thing too. Let me find it. Somebody, I'm going to ask you guys for a favor, because I could not find this. Last week, a viewer named Hog Rotten super chatted me $5 for a jalapeno beer, jalapeno beer. And so I went to the liquor store this week to buy a jalapeno beer. I thought it'd be funny to drink it today. They couldn't find one. So at the liquor, it's like one of those Bevmo. If you have that, it's like a big, it's like a Walmart kind of grocery store of liquor. And so the reason I'm telling you guys this, you guys are my resources. If any of you know where to get a jalapeno beer, or could you please send that to me at the PMcKnight7 Gmail? I don't care if it's 10 of you or whatever. Just send that to me. I'm gonna buy one and drink it. He paid the $5. I want to spend his money on that jalapeno beer because I don't know. Maybe what I'll do, maybe that would be cool. Maybe, this could be half cheating and half cool idea. So maybe if I can find a jalapeno beer. Now, remember, we're going to stay jalapeno. No habanero beer. No crazy death chili beer. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. But jalapeno beer, I was thinking just now, if you guys do find one for me and send it to me, I'll buy it. And then what we could do is maybe during the show, I'll drink it. And if I drink the whole thing, everything, maybe we'll do a donation to a charity or something. You know what I mean? Kind of like, one of those things like, if I finish this whole beer, we're going to donate $50 to charity or something like that. And if I don't finish the beer, that's how you should probably do it. If I finish the beer, it's $50 to charity. And if I don't, it's $100 to charity. Woohoo! Maybe the other way around. I don't know how you would do it. But that's my idea. Please, guys, if you guys know anything, please send it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Figure tap those resources. You guys are like, Happy Arbor Day. I know everybody doesn't celebrate Christmas, of course, and I don't even know if I celebrate Christmas half the time. I don't know what I'm doing day to day, but I do know that it is Christmas Eve, so that's why a lot of people are talking about Christmas today, and I think that's perfectly fine, obviously. Okay, so Dan Brown says, do I have any nightmare employee stories? Oh, well, of course. Of course. Anyone who's hired and had employees have had issues with them or, maybe I've had theft issues, stuff like that. I have. I say maybe. It's like, I have. Nothing to the point where it was like, you need to get the police involved or you need to get insurance involved or anything like that. Nothing wacky like that. I've been very lucky to have such great relationships with most of the people I've worked with. Very few times have I had issues with employees. But I will tell you this. I've had two issues with employees that always will stick out in my head were learning lessons. One was bad for them and one was bad for me. So I'll give you both. And then I know this is kind of a bummer, but maybe it's interesting. And I like to say at least this stuff, maybe if you have businesses and stuff, you can learn from this. So what happened with one of the employees, it was a guitar teacher that was working for the store. And he'd been there for a couple years and the recession hit. And what happened was the store in the recession, I may have talked about this, in the recession, the lesson programs boomed. They were just killing. It was the other stuff that wasn't doing well. You did repair for me, lightened up a little bit, but not much. So that was good. Lessons boomed and guitar sales fell. And a lot of that logic was a lot of things happened in the recession. Parents couldn't go on vacations. They were, you know what I mean? And so because they couldn't go on vacations, they would just let their kids stay in lessons over the summer. So where we would drop in summer, we didn't. And as you know, it's like once you drop, you got to work it back up. And it's like this, it's just like a gym membership. You're always trying to get new students in. And so that happened. But also what I learned from that recession that was really interesting, having a lesson academy that was a large one, and of course the music store, was parents really, they let their children suffer last. And then what I mean by that is like, parents will go to great lengths to make the kids think that things aren't as bad as they are. So kids stayed, I know, because here's why I know this. I didn't have to handle any of this stuff. And I know this is a segue to that employee issue, but I want you to have the backstory. My wife, handled all this stuff and handled all the customers when it came to lessons for the most part, right? And so my wife could tell you more detailed information about what I'm about to tell you, which is during that time, man, she had so many, I saw the books, so many cockamamie payment plans. You know what I mean? Because people were struggling, and it was like we would put people on like discounts for like 3 months, like almost like a forbearance or a you know, kind of deferral kind of thing. Like, hey, your lessons are this much a month. This is the portion the store gets. We'll forego a piece of that. You know what I mean? We never let the teachers take a discount. So we would always take it on our end because it's a lot easier for us to take, you know, our pie comes from lots of little pieces. So when you lose a few pieces here and there, the pie doesn't shrink so much. But if you're the teacher, your pie is much smaller and it shrinks really fast. So, so she would have all these ways of getting paid and stuff. So it was a tough time, but the students were great. So what happened was, I'll never forget this. This teacher came to us and said his wife got laid off from her job, and he's financially just like ruined from this. And, you know, is there anything we can do? Now, what happened was we started giving him extra students. So in other words, when students come in, we're like, if they would fit, we'd try to push them on to him, right? To get him kind of beefed up. And then a teacher quit. The teacher had about 60 students. And so what happened was I taught there as well, too, at the store. And so what happened was my wife came to me and said, you need to take this roster of students because financially it'd be great for us with the lost revenues from the income of the retail side and stuff. And this will fill the gap. Like, we'll be set. And I'm like, all right, I agreed to do it. And then, and I might be telling this slightly out of order, but he had came to us and said his wife lost her job. He needs the money really bad. And so we had a talk that night after we talked to him. And then my wife and I agreed that he would get the students. So they went to him. So his roster was full. He was just loaded. And this is why it was a horrible experience for me. Because it's a really bad experience. And you'll understand why in a second. Because it still, to this day, pisses me off and upsets me. So that's why I'm moving at a different pace right now, telling you the story. So how it went down was, we had loaded him up with students. I couldn't tell you if it was a couple weeks after that. Maybe it was a month or two after we loaded him up, but he was loaded with students. We thought everything was fine. And then one day I got a call. I'll never forget this call ever in my life. A woman on the other end, I answer, and she says, how do you have, I think she said the F word, but I don't remember. She goes, how do you have the nerve to ask my child to come to your apartment and give him guitar lessons? And I go, what are you talking about? Like, I was in shock. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, if you're going to start teaching lessons at your apartment, then you tell me and not my child. And she's screaming at me. I mean, she was beaming mad. The problem was I'm super confused because I have no idea what she's talking about. And so I finally got her to calm down, talking to her. And I said, look, ma'am, I'm sorry. I'm the owner here. I'm one of the owners. I don't know what's going on. How can I help you? And then she proceeds to tell me that that teacher that I just gave 60 students to has been moving them all sideways. And he actually is quitting the store, but he didn't tell us. And he moved all the students to his apartment down the street. And to give you a reference of revenue, let me see. What is that revenue? I don't even know now. At the time, it felt insanely huge. Let's take a look. Because I can probably tell you what he had. Times. I don't know why I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to just type a number. So it's $2,025 of monthly revenue to our store. We had like a $7,000 a month mortgage, our rent, right? So $2,000. Like, I just found, like, so now am I being screamed at by a woman for apparently soliciting her child to come to take guitar lessons, which of course I wasn't doing and the store wasn't doing. And he was doing, obviously, moving the student sideways. But I'm also finding out in real time that I'm losing $2,000 right now. And the worst time you could ever lose $2,000. So I was furious, as you can imagine. And I try to stay even keeled. I'm pretty even keeled. It takes, if I do lose my temper, it's short. Because I'll calm down quick enough to realize what's going on. In that case, I didn't blow up because I was just really at that point, you can imagine, I just wanted to explain the situation. So I explained it to the mom. Everything was fine. And then after I got her all calm and everything worked out, I got her to talk to my wife. And then she obviously rescheduled the student to stay with us with another teacher. And then I had to go right then into his lesson room and tell him he has to leave the premises like immediately, like now. And he was like, I'm not leaving. Like, you have to leave. You understand, you're soliciting. You can't be. The crazy part of this story is, sure, does teachers, do that? Sure. Is that things happen? Yes. Did we have contracts that prefer against that? We didn't have, in our contracts, this is what's interesting about this. We never had a non-compete contract in our studio, in our lesson programs. So we didn't have sometimes they have that. Like if you leave teaching here, you can't teach within 2 miles or whatever the deal is. There's all these non-competes. We didn't have that. We only had 2 things in the contract besides ethics clauses. We had ethics clauses and, all the other stuff you have to have. But the 2 things in the contract was you were not allowed to solicit students to leave on our time. In other words, if I'm paying you, you can't solicit them to leave. So that's what he was doing verbatim, doing that. The one thing that it's in the contract he can't do. And the second thing you can't, you got to do, is the second thing you got to do is you got to give us 30 days notice, right? And that's it. That's it. If you do those 2 things, I never played these are your students, these are my students game. I never played any of that stuff. It was always very simple. It was if you're going to leave, like, in other words, and I used to say this to everybody, if you're going to leave, teach when you're here, teach your students, then go home and call your students on your time and solicit them to leave. Not on my time. So I was pissed to this day. It was, luckily I learned nothing from that. And I'm going to say that in the weirdest way. That's one of those things in life where if I would have learned what you're supposed to learn from that, I would not like anybody and trust anybody ever again. I couldn't tell you what that cost me. Oh, I can tell you exactly what it cost me. I'm not going to tell you, but it was bad. It was a financially horrible year, to say the least, on epic proportions. And it was a miscalculation. But I learned from that, but I didn't learn enough, thank God, so that I'm a horrible, well, not horrible, but that I think all people are horrible. So that was a pretty bad one. There you go. I don't know what you're going to learn from that, everybody. The worst part, actually, and then I'm done. We'll go on to the next thing. I'm not going to talk about the other employee down today. We'll just think that's enough. The worst part was, I don't know why I did this to this day, but when the day I went, so we went home to talk about what we're going to do with him and the students, when we were going to give him the students, and we agreed that night we would give him the 60 new students. And then the next day, to tell him that I got the 60 students, I went to Walgreens. This is a stupid story, but it's so sad. I went to Walgreens and I got him a thank you card. And I put $100 bill in it. I remember, because I had this $100 bill. I put it in there and I wrote in the card, thank you for everything you're doing for us. It's great to have you, part of this. And, here, we're going to let you have all the students from this other teacher, and here's $100. It's not, I know it's not much. I wrote in there I know it's not much, but it's something. And man, that my back still hurts from that knife. So he says, I like nightmare stories. I like now that time goes by. Look, all this stuff when time goes by. I probably wasn't pissed at even a year later. So, it's not like it took years to get over it, but, yeah, somebody says you should have called 911. Here's the thing. And to this day, all that stuff hurts. But the thing, man, I don't know if you've ever experienced that experience I had having that woman, screaming at me. She was so mad. And not screaming how people screaming like crazy. She wasn't crazy. She was very focused. This was like a mama bear, pissed as hell at me because she didn't know. She doesn't know who gives her kid lessons. She didn't know anything. She just was ready to tear open to the first person to answer the phone. It just happened to be me. So, but the good news is, let's find the good news. And the good news is this: she called the store. She could have easily called him, and I would have never known any of this stuff. And then she'd had a dinner party saying, the store solicited my kids to come to the, right? So who the hell knows? I don't know. So it all worked out. There is a funny story into this story. I don't know if this is true. I heard this to be true. I heard that somehow he lost all the students and then decided to move back to the East Coast and put his stuff in storage. And I guess all his stuff in storage got robbed. I could have been just told this stuff by friends and, friends of friends just to make me feel better. Don't worry, everything happened crappy to him. But I don't know that to be true. He's probably, I don't know. You know what? I hope he's fine. How about that? All right, we're gonna open this pedal. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna open this pedal because now I think I deserve to open it. So we're gonna do aha. Okay, so I don't know how this works. I guess, like he says, you can subscribe and you get a pedal every month, and you just don't know what it is. And I don't know. I think that would actually be cool. I don't know. I don't know. Oh no, this thing is wacky. I can already tell. Okay, so hold on a second. There's a wrap. I'm kind of hiding it from you. It's wrapped paper, picks. You get some picks that I'm dropping, and a box. Like we'll do the Letterman stuff. All right, so it's the Mojo hand effects. Okay, I have no idea how this thing works. It comes, looks like it comes in a beer koozie. Mojo hand effects. So it's Mojo hand effects. I don't know. I have no idea. Phase shifter? Does anyone know what this is? Again, this is the Mojo hand, Mr. Q, phase shifter. Okay, I'm not scared now. I thought when it said Mojo. I mean, did you guys see the stuff lately where like there's a thing and it goes, you put a ring on your hand, you have to move your hand to get the effect to work. Okay, there's some instructions. Just right now, that's the best way for this stuff to happen. All right. Push button, intensity, speed, color, power. This is pretty straightforward stuff. Color knobs pointing. Okay, let's hook it up. Okay, so let's go check this out. Okay, so this is the input. We'll do this to this. What's funny about this, do I still have, oh yeah, you still have me. What's funny about this is I was telling TJ, I have this rig always set up. So like at any time I can do demos on the live show. I just never do it. Okay, now for the purpose of demo, guys, I gotta put these rubber. I didn't know. I know this is gonna be funny. You're putting the rubber feet on. I have to put the rubber feet on. This thing's gonna slide around, and then it won't be in view of camera. Okay, look at that. Center that thing up. Oh, I got too much light on it. I apologize. You know what we'll do? We'll stick this beer koozie. It's back to me. Okay. So what I have right now, what you're going to hear, good thing they give me, oh, I have pick. What you're going to hear is this is my PRS Custom 22 Semi-Hollow SE. What? Beautiful, right? And right now I'm running through the Bad Cat and the Clean channel, and that's running into the Captor X, and that runs into this Presonus. And then, of course, you're hearing it through my mic too, but if you... That's the no mic. So, okay. You guys want to hear it? Let me go back to it. Okay, so we've got some speed knobs. I have no idea what I'm doing. There's this thing. Okay, so okay, so if you guys don't mind, I'm going to play for a minute and mess with it. So you guys just watch and check it out. Here we go. Okay, I dig that. So like a phaser envelope filter, I'm going to play some more with it. Here we go. Let's go to camera 2 and push that button in. Okay, I dig that. And I think, believe it or not, hold on a second. You guys don't mind me doing this one more time. I really like that part. That I meant turn my mic off. I got to say turn my mic off, then turn my mic off. And then hit a wrong note. What I want to do, just real quick before we stop, single coil on the neck. Here we go. Yep, that's what I like. I love that. Okay, one more time. Okay, that's fun. So the idea was to do something fun and try a pedal. I have to tell you, I was very excited. I was talking to TJ last week about this, and he's like, "Are you going to do a show Christmas Eve?" And I go, "I don't know. Anybody there to hang out and do it?" And he goes, "Why don't we do this fun thing? And if nobody shows up, you'll have a blast." And he's right. TJ, you're right. I had a blast. So guess what? Now I get to give one of these away. And I already decided how I'm going to do it. There's 699 of you. Way more than I thought, by the way. I thought we'd peak maybe 200 today, most. So how do you win this pedal? Here's how you win this pedal. The first one to answer this question correctly wins the pedal. If I was to tell you that Moon Pie Guitars is the best guitar ever, what real brand name guitar am I saying? Let's see how diehard you guys are that. The first one to tell me the answer to that question, if I was to tell you Moon Pie Guitars are the best guitars ever, what real brand of guitar am I talking about? I'm watching. Anyone got the answer? I figured it would be a little hard. Oh, you got it! Guitar Zan 11. You just won. Moonstone. Good man. Thank you. You know what it is? It's sometimes when I talk all the time, because I talk so much on this show, I go, I don't even know if anybody listens. Obviously, Guitar Zan, you were listening. I'm not going to send you this Moon Pie thing. You know what made me think of it was, I don't know why, but my wife got some, I think it's because her mom's in town and she's from the South. And like, this is a big thing, I think, in the South, the moon pies. But there was moon pies on the counter. I was laughing when I saw them. And then, of course, if you see moon pies, you can never unhear Moon Pie guitars. So Guitar Zan 11, you just won. Let me go to it. Check it out. You just won a Mr. Q phase shifter pedal Mojo Hand Effects. I have to admit, here's what I will tell you. It's obviously an envelope filter of some sort and obviously very funky, and you could probably do other cool stuff besides what I did with it. But what I will tell you is a lot of times envelope filters are a little too much, man. They're just, they're all over the place. And that was legitimately just the right amount, in my opinion. Instantly, I liked it because it was like, sometimes they only have like one spot on those pedals that sound good and everything else just becomes just chaotic nonsense. And I found at least 3 or 4 spots on there where I was really happy. Very cool pedal. I don't know how much this pedal goes for. I thought he said this is $150 pedal is what I thought he said. But again, I could be wrong because he didn't tell me what it was. He just said, I'm going to send you a pedal. And I thought he said, I'm going to send you a pedal that's worth about $150. I could be totally wrong. So, but I will say this. I want to thank TJ at Guitar Crate and Guitar Zan 11 for for the proper answer, Moonstone guitars. And if you guys don't know what that is and you're interested, well, good thing. Guess good news. All these shows are timestamped, so you just have to go back in the last 5-6 shows maybe and look at the timestamps. All right. And Guitarzan, all you have to do is just email me at pmcknight7 at gmail.com, and I'll get that out. I'll get the address and everything. We'll get it out. So thank you. That was fun. I hope that was fun. Now we'll go back to questions. Some of you guys are... Oh, thank you. The Full Metal Chief says it's $139. Thank you, Full Metal Chief. So $139. That's pretty legit for $139. Right? I mean, that's pretty cool. I liked it. It scared me to death. If you couldn't tell, man, if anyone want to freeze frame that face when I opened the box, I don't want to say I had a heart attack, but I almost like literally crap my pants because I thought when I saw Mojo Hand effects, because like I said, I just recently saw somebody makes a pedal now where you have to put a ring on and you move your hand with the ring and it makes the pedal do things. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to hook all this up? I don't have that all hooked, ready to go. And then I was like, oh, it's just a pedal and it can just make it sound good and go. So G wants to know what I think of Splon amps. I like Splon amps. I like Marshalls, so I like anybody who makes any kind of modded type Marshall thing. There is yeah, E.R. Webster, I'm sidetracking right now. E.R. Webster says, wow, Moonstone guitars are not cheap. Nope, they're not. And if you listen to a certain gentleman, there's a reason why, because they're the greatest guitar everything, and everything else is crap. At least that's what I learned that day I talked to that guy. But what I was going to say was about Splon amps and Marshall. I like anything that's modded Marshalls. So, Wizard, I love those amps. I like Splons. What's the other one that I don't know why I'm... I don't know why I'm... Fargen amps, I think I've played are really cool Marshall modded amps. There's a lot of great Marshall modded amps. I think, and I've always felt this way, I feel like Marshall... I feel like Marshall's always missed the boat on this. I feel like Fender adopted it, which is why I really makes me sad that Marshall didn't. And what I mean by that is, over the years, people have modified Fenders. And at some point, Fender's kind of embraced that. The 68 series of amps is basically what somebody else did to their amps. You know, I mean, think of this. The 68 series, if you don't know the 68 Princeton, 68 Vibrolux, 68 Deluxe Reverb, 68 Twin, what those really are, and now they have the 68s, the other ones now, right? They have 2 or 3 other ones now. What those really are, and their different versions are, essentially, when the Silverface amps, everybody really didn't want them. They wanted the Blackface amps. And so the Silverface amps for years, I mean, if you don't have to be very old to remember this. You used to go into music stores in the 90s, and Silverface amps were just $1. They were nothing. You could buy them for nothing because, I mean, people were valuing Blackface, but not Silverface amps. Just nobody wanted them. And so a lot of people like Kendrick and stuff like that, a lot of people, and there's probably others a lot more, out there, but Kendrick's the ones I think of. They just started modding them. They were like, they're good amps, and you can, good platforms, and they would mod them up, and people would buy them, and then they would start going for good money. And at some point, Fender was like, let's just do that. You know what I mean? Make a more production version of a modded amp, which actually I like for a couple of reasons. One of the things that people kind of don't talk about when it comes to the kind of out of the garage boutique amp builder concept is sometimes things break. You know what I mean? And they're delicate, and they're not much different than old amps where they're not built and designed the same way. Sometimes there's good things about them, but sometimes there's good things about production level amps where a company is sitting there and testing to see how long this thing can take abuse and see if it can, it could go the distance. And so Fender making those kind of amps and tons of other versions also, I think is very smart. I wish Gibson would literally... Or not Gibson, I'm sorry. Marshall would do the same thing. There's so many great modded Marshalls out there. I don't understand why Marshall just doesn't. I mean, Marshall hasn't really been putting out anything for the most part, but I mean, at least they could put out some modded JCM800s and some modded Plexis. Why not? You know what I mean? Here, especially now, a lot of times you can't find any legitimate modded amps anymore, reasonably priced. Because everybody kind of is in the know. Back in the day, like speaking of Splon, back in the day, those are the pricey amps, but back in the day, you could walk in a store accidentally and just buy a Splon for good money because no one knew what it was. So, there you go. Yeah, Moon Pie guitars. In no case, they come with a liter of cola. Farva. Okay, so we have questions. Let's do some more questions. We have a question right here. The question is from The Panda. It says, happy holidays. Building a 212 cabinet from my 59 Bassman clone. What do you think about mixing an Alnico and ceramic speaker would this cover most? Well, cover most, like most sounds and stuff like that. Sure. I love mixing the speakers up. Obviously, a ton of companies do that. Bogner does it. 65 amps does it. I think Divided by 13 does it. I mean, a ton of companies do now. I mean, it's just becoming more and more trend. It makes total sense. There's things that are beautiful that happen when you mix two speakers. First of all, let's just talk about one cool thing that happens when you have a 212 cabinet and you put two different speakers in it, is that essentially now you can mic both speakers or either of those speakers and get a different tone every time. So for instance, if you like a good example is a really generic mix that people do a lot is a vintage 30 and a GT75. That's actually Bogner has some mixes where they do that in their 412s and stuff and 212s. And so what's nice about that is the GT75 gets a little more fizzy, and so you get a little bit more of that crunchy fizzy distortion on the end, but you get the punch in the mids of that vintage 30. And what's great is you can mic the vintage 30. I mean, you can mic either one, but in my case, I would probably like those two combo speakers. Actually, I do. I have that set in a cabinet. And I mic the vintage 30 because I think the vintage 30 mics a little better sometimes for what I want to have as the signal that's going into the recording. And same thing, you could put a blue Alnico speaker with a green back. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And the other advantage of mixing speakers, besides the fact there's just two tone differences and you can mic them, is sometimes you have to understand there's this really cool thing that happens with speakers, and we don't have to even know why it happens. You just need to know that it's going to happen. For instance, if you put a greenback selection, a 30-watt greenback selection in a speaker cabinet, I don't care what the ohms are, okay? And then you put a vintage 30 in there, which is a 75-watt speaker, they both are 30 watts. Did you know that? That's kind of a cool little thing. So that's the best. Just go off that for the rest of your life. You'll be safe. It's pretty general, and it's going to apply to almost every situation. So in other words, if you put in speakers in a 412 or a 212 cabinet that are mix-matched wattages, whatever the lowest wattage is, remember, you can't mix-match the ohms. Okay, you got to know what you're doing. So definitely keep them if they're all 16s or all 8s, and you got to know how to wire them and all that stuff. That's not a problem. But we're talking about wattage only. If you put in like a 300-watt speaker, like if you put a 300-watt EV speaker in a cabinet with a 75-watt greenback or a 75-watt vintage 30, they're both 75 watts. They're very cool. So, and believe it or not, that actually changes the sound of that speaker again and actually makes it kind of cool. So it's kind of, especially on the, when I like it, when I kind of like, vintage 30s mixed with a greenback for that same reason. Cause I feel like, the greenbacks just, they change a little bit. They just have a little bit different thing going. So, next question is from, Ron just wanted to do a super chat to thank the channel. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. And it's a good time to thank all the members that are supporting the channel as well too. You can see them because they have a Funko Pop version of me icon next to their names. That means they're supporting the channel on the new member program that YouTube offers. So it's just more ways to support this thing, and I appreciate that very much. Ace says, just snagged a Michael Sweet Striper Signature Flying V on Reverb. Basically new, came with the original gig bag and a Gator hard case. Oh, both? That's cool. I've had that happen once where somebody gave you a case and a gig bag. It's pretty cool. For $1,000, seems like a sweet deal. Unrelated to how much does a nicked fret devalue the guitar? You should be able to fix that, no problem. So here's the deal on nicked frets. Just like I've done videos where I've shown you that you don't have to crown and level an entire fretboard, right? You don't have to do that. You can spot level and crown frets. You can also spot replace frets. It's really common. It's been done for many, many years. Some techs now don't do it as often. I'm not sure why. Usually there's rules. I have rules too. To me, it's 6, but really my magic number is 4. In other words, I want 4, but sometimes I'll push to 6 for the, because the customer's kind of puppy-eyed. Basically, if I find I have to replace up to more than 6 frets, then we're replacing all your frets. I'm not going to replace like 7 frets, 8 frets. Because after a while, it's just easier. Just pull them all and just redo the whole thing. But yeah, I do it all the time. You get a fret. Like sometimes it happens a lot. Guitar falls and hits a counter or a table and the string smashes and dents. And I mean really dents into the fret. And the dent is so deep that there's just no way to fix that. We just pull the fret and put a new fret in. So to answer your question, a nicked fret, in most cases you can polish it out, kind of fix it and crown all of them. And it just, then life is just good. So it depends on how deep it is. If it's so deep that that's just not going to be the case because either A, it's, psychotically deep, really deep, but that's not usually the case. What's really the case is that it's so deep that once you level all the frets to that depth of how, far you got to go before it's smooth again, now your frets are like, super thin and nobody wants that. So sometimes you're like, okay, let's just refret. But in most cases, you'll pull the fret and just redo the fret. Put a new fret in. So that's it. That's it. And by the way, great score on the guitar. Michael Sweet's amazing, by the way. Fantastic guitar player, fantastic singer, just fantastic. The only thing I can't, I was a Stryper fan, and I am a Stryper fan, and I'm a Michael Sweet fan for sure. In fact, if you like Michael Sweet, definitely check out the Sweet and Lynch, where he did the album with George Lynch. That's fantastic. But I was going to tell you, growing up in high school, when I grew up, I had a friend whose parents were extremely religious. And he couldn't listen to anything that wasn't Christian music. And the only thing we could listen to was, it was Stryper and Amy Grant. I'm not making that up. And that's how I became a Stryper fan, because we were desperate. It's not like now where you can go to a Christian store and you can get like the equivalent of death metal in Christian music or gangster rap in Christian music. You get any kind of music you want, just be Christian, themed or whatever. But back then, it was like Stryper. that was what you got. But I was going to tell you, the thing that makes me laugh is I read Scott Ian's book from Anthrax, and he talks about the time Stryper opened for Anthrax, and I can never unhear the story about how Stryper opened for Anthrax and threw little Bibles in the audience, and the audience started pelting Stryper with the Bibles back. But I'm a Stryper fan, but that story is still kind of funny. Just because I thought to myself, I guess Stryper really thought this was a good idea. What could go wrong? All right, let's go to the next one. Travis says, hey, Phil, have you been able to put your hands on one of those G-Series Gibson acoustics? I'm really interested, and it seems like a decent price point. I talked to Sweetwater. That was originally when Sweetwater started reaching out and asking about sending stuff to the channel. That was one of the first things they asked to send out, and I said, absolutely, and then they never sent it out. So maybe they found some other channels to do that, those videos. I love the idea of those guitars, the G-Series by Gibson Acoustics. Acoustics are just one of those things, like they just don't send, companies just don't send a whole lot of them to the channel. It's funny. Acoustics, my acoustic curse is the same as my bass guitar curse. You guys will come to me all the time and say, hey, you should do a video about these things. And the problem is I love acoustic and I love bass, but I don't love collecting acoustics and I don't love collecting basses. I play bass, and like I said, when I play guitar at home, most of the time I'm on my acoustic, but I don't collect them. So I can make like 2 videos because right now I own like 3 basses and I own like 2 acoustics. So that's what I play all the time. So a lot of times, I'd have to have suggestions from you guys and stuff. But I would love to check them out and do them on the channel. Maybe I can talk to them about having that sent out. I don't know. We'll see. Travis. No, I just did Travis. Trying to go to the next question. And let me jump back and forth a little bit. I knew the screen was lying to me. Every time I'm like, I think I'm almost done with questions. There's more. Curtis says, Merry Christmas, Phil, to you and your family. Your thoughts on the mystery of the EVH bridge pickup, the tones Eddie got for the first album. Cheers. I didn't know there was a mystery. Is there a mystery to that? Didn't he pull that pickup from an ES-35? I'm not super into the EVH lore, especially the early lore of what he did and how he did stuff. I'm a huge Eddie fan, but not so much. There's different levels of fans. I'm not a fan of all the little, because he did. You have to almost be into only Eddie. If you watch the channels that are really into Eddie Van Halen, they know as much. There's as many guitars Eddie Van Halen did, as many things Eddie Van Halen did, is just learning about all these brands and all this other stuff. That's just too much on one thing for me. But I didn't know that. But I always thought that's what it was. Here's my thought. Usually most early, pickups are going to be Gibson pickups or DiMarzio pickups. I mean, that would be my guess. I did watch a cool thing Pete Thornton did, and I thought he was talking about pickups, and he was talking about the Mighty Mite pickups and DiMarzio pickups, which the Mighty Mites are basically they're copies of DiMarzio. I believe the story goes something like DiMarzio let Mighty Mite take distribution of like the West Coast of the country. This is all, as they would say, hearsay. This isn't like anything I can tell you as a fact. It's just the stories I've heard. Mighty Mite gets distribution of DiMarzio pickups for the West Coast. That way DiMarzio can focus on the East Coast. And at some point, Mighty Mite starts knocking off the DiMarzio pickups. And that's why there's Mighty Mite pickups that are like DiMarzios. So, and then of course that ends their relationship. And I don't think they've ever had a relationship since, but I don't know. I know this. I think for me, you know, I like the Wolfgang pickups. That's how lame I am. Like I said, I'm into the new. I'm the worst. I'm into the new Eddie Van Halen stuff. I've been into the, you know, my experience of, I have a striped series Eddie Van Halen guitar. I love it. But my experience of Van Halen is For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. That's really like my first experience of Van Halen as a musician, as a guitar player, as someone who's like, oh, this is cool. And when I say that, some of my friends are really into Van Halen, like they have like horrified of that statement. But to me, Eddie Van Halen is a 5150 PV amp with a Music Man or a PV Wolfgang into the amp. That's like what I think of when I'm like, you know, so there you go. So and then later I started chasing the older Eddie Van Halen sounds that are awesome as well. Maybe even better, I should say. Matthew says, Merry Christmas. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Grumpy My Guitar says, why not? For the tone jar. He says, thanks again. Merry Christmas to you and family. Cheers. Thank you, Grumpy Mike. He did a cool video. I didn't even know my wife had done it so fast. She sent him I told you, a sticker for the back of his window of his truck, and I guess it was in silver. I didn't know that either. And he made a video on like what it's like to put it on there. And my wife is very detail oriented, so he got the instructions. Like my wife made that sticker. I don't know if you know that, Grumpy. Like she doesn't like this stuff, you know, where it's outsourced to somebody else. My wife makes those stickers. That sticker you got, she has a machine downstairs and it cuts it, and then she has to like put it on that paper. Like there's a process to this. I don't know why she doesn't just order from somebody, but because she can do custom ones like yours. I think yours, the one she sent you was the actual logo. I don't know if you noticed that logo on there is the logo from the zither stand, which is the arm playing logo. So it was a slightly different one. But she, you know, wrote him instructions, and now his video is the official. If you get one of those stickers, that's the official how to put that sticker on there. Thanks, Grumpy Mike. Merry Christmas to you too. Buzz didn't want to a lot of you guys just, hey, thank you. Just wishing Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And if you guys don't celebrate Merry Christmas, I guess you can just say have a good day. Merry Christmas. Eddie did Merry Christmas. I'm Not Old, I'm Vintage, who's a moderator here. Thank you. I'm Not Old, I'm Vintage. He says, Merry Christmas. Voodoo Fist says, Happy Holidays. That works too. He says, and congrats on another year of quality videos. Best year yet. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was one of the record high. Not record high. It was, but I mean, it's not like it blew any doors off. It's just continual growth. It's nice to see continual growth. That's always exciting. So the channel grew, the podcast grew, everything grew this year in the same increment it did the previous year. Like I said, I'm slowly achieving the thing I want to achieve the most, which is I don't want it to get so big that it just becomes chaos for me. And I don't want it to be a YouTube thing. Like I don't want to be a YouTube. I don't know how to say that. What am I trying to say? Like I want to hang out and I want to do well financially from this because it's important, because obviously this thing also sucks money as much as it can make. It sucks it too, which is good. Like I said, no complaints on my end, but I really am happy with what we've achieved here together, which I think is like this. I think we've made it. I think we're legitimate as a group of musicians hanging out every Friday and being on this channel. But also, I don't think it's, I don't know. It's gotten out of control and stupid. So. Groovy Music Less says, I have continual growth that I have to have my doctor look out. Groovy, I would definitely say if you have continual growth, you should have your doctor look at that as well. I agree. But like I said, it's just my way of saying thank you, guys. That's what I really want to say. Thank you. He says, any new and exciting plans and ideas for 2022? There is. I'm going to say that if you're one of the 783 people hanging out with me today, you either have nothing to do and no family on Christmas, or don't believe in Christmas, or you're a fan. So one of those things, all of those things I'll accept, by the way. And yes, next year, this year we tested something at the beginning of the year. If you know, I took money and I bought a lot of the gear to review, and it was really tough because it was hard to see how it went. And the reason I said that is because, as you guys know, the idea was like, okay, instead of waiting for companies to email you going, hey, you want to check out the new Harley Benton? I was like, okay, what do you guys really want to see? And you guys would say like Reverend, you said, Sire, think of this. Now the Sire's everywhere, right? Everybody's like, Sire's the greatest thing ever. But you guys mentioned Sire way before. We were in the first like larger channels to do Sire, and it was unsponsored. I bought that Sire from Chicago Music Exchange, and you guys suggested that, so we kind of nailed it 8 months before everybody else got hip to the idea. And again, that's you guys. So the thing I was going to tell you was, what I didn't know was you can't, YouTube doesn't work, and YouTube's not like that. It's not instantaneous. So what happens is, you buy something for, let's say, $700, and then you sell it, and if you're lucky, you get $700, but usually you get a little less because of the fees and stuff. And then the video makes like $150. And I hate to talk about the money aspect, but it's important for you to understand how this has to work for me financially, for my life and my family and stuff, and the challenges of the channel. And so now you're like, okay, I made $70 or $100 profit, but it's 2 days worth of work. Like, who the hell wants to work for, I don't know. I don't know about you guys. I don't want to work for less than minimum wage. How about that? That's not fun when you count up your hours and you go, that wasn't even minimum wage. You're like, I think I'm worth minimum wage. And so then you go, okay, should you do that or not? Well, now what happens is now it's been months and months, and you watch those videos and they grew and they grew. A lot of them ended up doing very well. And when you actually look at the numbers at the end, they were all profitable except for 2 that tanked really bad. But we did like, if you guys saw my year in review, I did like 8 or 9 guitars where I bought them and we did detailed reviews of them, and 2 of them flopped. And then when you cost average across, it was still a very beneficial financially for the channel, for the subscriber base, everything. So what's the plans for next year? We're doing that. In fact, we're definitely doing that. So what's going to happen is, I'm very excited about this. Me personally, you guys won't care, is that each month I'm now pre-scheduling. I used to not do that. I used to like, okay, what are we going to do next month? I have pre-scheduled what I'm going to do. And in that will be specifically things that you guys want to see, like products you want to see. So you guys give a suggestion. It doesn't have to be on the live show. It doesn't have to be on Patreon. It's just I get all the suggestions and I get the beat of what you guys want, and then we're going to buy that and do it. So we will continue with that. And I'm not going to worry about if it's working or not. I'm just going to trust that in the long term it seems to be coming around. So that's what's exciting next year. So that's good. Ron did a super chat. I appreciate that, man. Especially, thank you for today. ER Webster, what's up, ER? Says, by the way, I liked your Christmas telly, man. That was badass. I don't understand. I didn't understand the fretboard. I was like, is it painted? I didn't understand if that was in the red and white. It was cool as hell. I looked down on Instagram, and then I went back a couple minutes later. It was one of those things that happens on Instagram to me all the time. I don't know about you guys. You see a picture and you go, oh, that's cool. And you keep going. And then a second you go, wait, what did you see? I went back and I was like, I go, oh, what is that fretboard? That's cool, but I love the guitar. He says, ever tried Q pickups out of, I don't know, Croatia? Nope. He says, I got their quarter pounder set for telly. Really big, warm, full sounding. Absolutely love it. Well, I would imagine a quarter pounder set, obviously quarter pounder is usually what Seymour Duncan was calling it. Essentially, those are P90s, right? That's what they're going after. I like when it comes to pedals, which I'm not extremely versed in, but pickups obviously more so. But I like to use, whether it's guitars, pickups, pedals, or amps, I like to use this kind of like history anatomy kind of thing. Like, in other words, like this pedal lineage comes from a tube screamer. this amp comes from, a Marshall or a Fender. This pickup comes from a PAF or from a P90. And so that I would imagine they sound great. I've always said this. I always think P90 sound amazing. I think they're one of the best sounding pickups out there. They do what I like that single coils do, and they do what I like that humbuckers do. And the only thing that sucks is they have 60 cycle hum, but you just got to deal with what you got to deal with. One of the questions I got to ask when I was interviewing, interviewing Phil X, if you watch that video still on my channel, in the interview I said, how do you control all that noise with a P90 when you're playing, more vodka, when you're playing in the arena? And he's like, I just turn the knob really fast. And he does it. And he's like, just like that. And so I was like, well, there's your answer. I think, because I saw Groovy, Scott Grove here earlier, I think Scott Grove, and I'm doing this off memory, I think he's a single coil. He likes single coils. But what he uses is volume pedals. And I think that's how he controls it. Because he was, I remember he did a video about a Morley volume pedal, and it was very interesting, and I learned a lot. I remember that. It was a good video, as always. But since I saw him, I thought I should give him credit. All right, stupid fingers. All right. Sounds like something you say when you're like, I can't get this chord to work. Stupid fingers. It says, Happy Xmas. Buy a pint or 3 at your favorite pub. I could just buy a growler. $20. I think that's the growler, man. I think you just bought me a growler. I think that's the growler cost. Oh, I love growlers. There's just something about it. Just something about having like a little giant jug of beer. I can't drink a growler in a night. There's no way I can drink like half a growler in a night. But I just love the idea. Like when you open it, it's like, psst, and you're like, yep, this is the night. Let's go. Mike says, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Looking forward to 2022 on your channel. I'm glad you are. Like I said, I'm excited too. Like I said, we're going to be, I think, well, think about this. This goes back to the other question, which was from Voodoo Fist. And now you like, hey, next year, I decided to buy a 59 Epiphone. So that's going to happen. And I'm going to do a comparison of 59 Epiphone versus the 59 Les Paul, reissues. I don't have the real 59 Les Paul. Cause well, for obvious reasons why I don't have a 59 Les Paul. I was like, do I want a 59 Les Paul or do I like having a place for my children to sleep? You know what? It doesn't even make any sense. I couldn't buy a 59 Les Paul, even if you wanted to. So I'm going to be doing that comparison video. That should be next month. If not, it will be in February. So that will be coming soon. I'm very excited about that one. Litface says, are there basses in the affordable import ultra premium category like Eastman, Inksy, or Shiji? Yes, there is. Merry Christmas, Phil, and everyone. Greetings from Albania. Greetings. Merry Christmas. Absolutely. First of all, Sire comes to mind. You gotta understand, I know Sire's like huge now with the internet. Everybody's like, Sire, it's the greatest thing ever. But you gotta understand, Sire started with basses. That's where it started with. They came out with the Marcus Miller basses, and they're very good. So to me, if you're looking for that, obviously look at Lakeland basses. Like their imports are freaking great. If you're looking for something for good on short money, Lakeland, those Sire basses I think are great on short money. Again, made in Indonesia, really cool. Another cool bass, like you said, you're talking about affordable but kind of premium kind of vibe. I still love Schecter basses, man. I think when they're right, they're beautiful. I'm still a fan of Ibanez basses at a lot of price points, and I still think to this day, Ibanez is one of those companies that really just wants to own the affordable bass market. I mean, Fender and Squier really do, but then it's Ibanez right after them. And so they're cool. I know that's like you said, ultra premium, but that's kind of the same thing. And then like if you're looking for something kind of cool, it's not gonna be dirt cheap, but maybe in the $500-600 range. Look at Conklin, the basses that Groove Tools, like Dr. Groovy, Groove Tools, and they're made by Cort. And Cort also made a Kerbo bass clone that's great. That's a lithium body, so it's not wood, but it's still kick-ass. There's a lot of stuff, out there that you can find. I mean, there's a ton of stuff, but that should start the journey a little bit. Those are really good too. And then also look at Cort basses because they make good basses too. Enrico says, do you think that as millennials and Zs, that's me, I think, age, they'll keep the demand for the custom shop blues lawyer tier of guitars? I don't see Zs spending $15,000. So, great question, right? And we can all we can do is poke theories out there, right? Okay. So, this is a question that is interesting because it really goes down to, why do you want those guitars? That's not, will they want the guitars? That's not the right question in my mind. It's not about will somebody want it. It's why do people want it? Okay. So let me give you a way to explain it, and then we'll go into what I think about what the value will be. I want to tell you that, look, in my lifetime, I had a pager, right? My son was born. I got a pager. Right? As soon as my wife's like, I'm pregnant, we're like, okay, I need to get a pager. So that dates me right there. And if you really want to laugh, it was Smart Beeps, and where I live it was called Smart Beeps, and it was $25 for the year. You pay $25 the year and you bought the pager. So I had a pager. I've had a cell phone. Life is different now with a smart, computer in my pocket now than it was for, like everybody else. Life is different. Everything's changing. Technology's changing constantly. And what I like to point out is, sure, does the internet come? Does that change? Everything starts changing. So people will say things are totally different. Well, they are, but watch how some things don't change at all. For instance, you could say now, like I actually know for a fact, I met my wife. Obviously, I met her in junior high and we knew each other in high school. We started dating in our 20s. We met, I would say, through traditional methods. Like we're in the same circles and we met each other, and then that led to a relationship. Where now I would imagine, well, I don't imagine my friends all like meet their wife like this, like, I like that one, and I'm going to say yes. And then they meet somewhere and then they get married later. And so, and that was, by the way, this is my joke. When somebody first told me, the first time I ever heard somebody say, how can somebody buy a guitar online? This is in 2004. I'll never, maybe 3. Somebody goes, who the hell would buy a guitar online? I said, I don't know. I have a friend who got his wife online. So, or met his wife online. I shouldn't say got her. Met her. I go, so if you can get your wife online, I'm pretty sure you could justify a guitar. Right? I'm pretty sure you're like, I don't think that's a far stretch. So what's my point to this rant that I'm doing? My point is that people really don't change as much as people think they do. You still court each other the same way, right? There's still politenesses in society. Like people talk about trolls and the internet and stuff, but still there's still some efficacy in how things are done. People still interact the same way. We're hanging out virtually. I'm on a screen. Look, I'm touching the screen. I'm on a screen. You guys are watching that, but really, this is communication. You guys are putting comments. I'm reading them. We read back. This is a source of communication. So the point is that that's what you have to ask yourself. That's what I ask myself. It's not, what is this stuff going to be worth? It's why do people want it, and will that change? And here's why I don't think it's going to change, and I've said this before. Because why people collect guitars, and I hear this all the time. People say, because this is the answer. You hear it all the time. They go, well, people buy guitar players, let's say boomers or by the way, I like to point out on a side note, I love it how they try to say, I just said this at dinner the other night. I like how they try to make boomer sound like a derogatory thing when they're like, okay, boomer, whatever they say. And I always think, but Boomer was the coolest person on Battlestar Galactica. But anyways, my point is, what's my point? My point is that everybody says the same thing. Oh, you want the guitar that you wanted when you were young. It's kind of true. However, I like to go a little deeper in that. You want the guitar that the person you idolize or the music you idolize had. There's this thing that you instinctually want because of that music. So here's the argument. The argument is not, and I'm going back to your core question, okay? So we're on there. This is, will a millennial, for whatever term that is, want a Gibson Les Paul in 20 years when it has no relevance to them? Well, here's what's funny. It depends on what's relevant at that time. If Slash is still relevant, that probably will. If Page is still relevant, they probably will. If the artists that's inspired by those artists are still relevant, they probably will. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But I don't think it's silly to say that it will decrease. It'll never go out of style and never die. There's always people that just want to spend their money on stuff. There's just a reality to that. You work and then you need a treat. That's just how that works. I don't think that's ever gonna. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So I think there'll still be value because I think the music has value. I really believe that. I really think that. And here's why I think that. And this is just my opinion. Again, like everything on this channel. But when I say it's my opinion, I mean, there's, I don't know. It just means that. It's just my opinion. So don't let it get up. Don't let it piss you off is basically what I'm trying to say. I don't know what it is, but growing up, when I grew up, and I listened to all the music my parents listened to. They played it for me, and I remember hearing it. And I remember this. I remember my mom hated all the music. I mean, my mom in her 40s. My mom would tell me she would hate all the music her parents listened to. She hated all that stuff. And she liked rock and roll because, her generation was first generation rock and roll. And I thought her rock and roll was silly. I mean, just realistic. Now I appreciate it, but also I'm attached to a memory of listening to it in the car with my mother. And so I became a fan of it, a huge fan actually of it. But the point is, like in my teenage 20s, and stuff, I had no appeal to listen to music from the 50s or 60s. None. Not in the 80s and 90s. None of that stuff was relevant to me in any way, and anyone I knew as a whole. Now, a reason I point that out is not to insult anyone's music choices, because like I said, I do like that music now, is that what I see now is weird. I see people who are 20 and they like the music I grew up with. It's weird. It's weird. They like the 70s and 80s stuff. It's funny to me. I think the music at a certain point, and I think it's really when rock and roll kicks, I think it just becomes like relevant for forever. I don't know. Could be totally wrong. It could be all fake too. I mean, we have to take into account that they still do buy AC/DC t-shirts at Target and they don't even know. I think there's not a single person watching this show right now who hasn't. I just happened to me this week at the mall, walking in the mall, and I see some teenage girl with a Led Zeppelin shirt, and I think, I wonder if she could name one Led Zeppelin song. And then I thought, how weird would it be if I was this random dude just walked up and go, hey, can you name a Led Zeppelin song? I was with my daughter and my son. I'm thinking, well, it won't be that weird, right? We're a family. And I'd be like, hey, you like Zeppelin? What song? But, and so I decided not to do it for one, because it kind of seemed weird. But two, deep down, I thought, she's going to say no. And worse, she's going to be like, why are you asking me? And I'll be like, well, your shirt's Led Zeppelin on your shirt. She'll be like, oh, yeah. So that's what I think is going to happen with those guitars. And the reason is, and there's another reason for this too, and again, none of this is going to be proof of anything, is I'm a perfect example. I'm sitting right now with a perfect example. That Steve Vai Jim is so crazy to me. When I was a kid and I started playing guitar, that, everybody had these flashy 80s guitars. And then I told you guys this, by the time I started playing guitar, grunge had already rooted itself in. So that stuff was already dead. But I started playing guitar thinking that stuff was cool, but I never got to really kind of play that stuff. And so the funny part of the story is, my whole life, everyone's like, that stuff is junk and it'll never be worth anything. That guitar is worth, that guitar new in 1999, which is, I don't care. That's not that far ago. 1999, that guitar was worth $1,000 brand new. Now they're asking $6,000 and $7,000 for them. So, there is this thing seems to continue. So I don't know. I think, yeah. And doctors and lawyers, and everybody keeps forgetting. I love the doctor lawyer thing. It's kind of funny. I just like to point this out, because I just like to tell you this every time. I sold millions of dollars. I don't say that for bragging purposes, because there's no money in this industry. So when I say I sold millions of dollars of guitars, I didn't make millions. I didn't. You make pennies. But I sold millions of dollars of guitars, me personally, to people. And I can tell you who buys all the expensive guitars. It's engineers, mechanical, electrical, software engineers. They buy stuff. They're the doctors and lawyers of today. They have the money and they're into stuff, and they buy it. I'm sure there's doctors and lawyers too. I just like to point out, they're not, it's always funny to me. It's like they always want to peg the doctors and lawyers. I'm like, but the engineers they're doing it, and I think they're cool. So how about that? That was my weird tirade. I got to get back to something else. All right. Good. We have K Monroe says, ever see a multi-laminate neck with the laminates are sandwiched parallel to the fretboard, so the laminates are visible from the side of the neck? Thinking of building a 4 laminate neck like this. So obviously what you're talking about is instead of going vertical from the fretboard out, you're talking about going horizontal. I would say that's not a good idea. I wouldn't do it. That would be my thought. If that's what you're talking about, I wouldn't do it. I mean, you can, it's your time, but it's, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work because it's not laminated the way you want it to, right? The strength of it is like the wood is all the strength is going to be, I mean, it won't break, but it'll bow, and that's, no good. There's a reason why they do necks the way they do. I wouldn't try to recreate that. That's just my thought. Kevin and Steve just wanted to support the channel and do super chats, and Tim wanted to wish us all a Merry Christmas or a Happy Christmas. I like Happy Christmas more than Merry, but hey, we'll do that. And then, hold on a second. Matt wants to keep Christmas rocking. Jamie says, thanks for everything you do. You're my morning walk podcast. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I get to tell now. It's kind of funny. It's weird. YouTube videos, you don't get to tell, right? In other words, you put out the video and it gets it's a little bump in views, and then it slows down. Sometimes you get a little bit more bump. And then over years, you look back and it's grown a little bit or whatever. The podcast is a wacky thing, man. Whether it's streaming or it's on YouTube, which mostly it's the streaming thing that you see. I can literally see you guys watch it. Not you, specifically. So don't worry, I'm not like looking and like, hey, what are you guys watching? It'll go right after this releases, it'll jump, and then it goes dormant. It doesn't move at all. And then Saturday morning, it jumps again. And then it goes dormant, and then Saturday afternoon, it jumps. Like literally exactly at those times. And then Sunday morning, it jumps again, and it goes dead all day. And then Sunday night goes a little bit more. And then Monday morning, like on the way to work, it jumps again. So you can tell how people are consuming it. So there you go. Gene's question says, when can you consider yourself a musician? The rule I have used forever is this. You're a guitar player when you own a guitar. That's all it takes. So if you own a guitar, you can officially walk in anywhere as far as I care. You can literally tell anybody, you're a guitar player. You own a guitar, you're a guitar player. If you can play a guitar, you're a musician. I don't think you have to play guitar well. I don't understand that's not relevant, I don't think. If you make music, you're a musician. It's that simple. Some people will disagree, but as those people will disagree, they would also be the people that may have stopped real musicians from being musicians. Right? How many times you heard this musician's horrible, yet then we end up loving all their music, right? People are like that with singers, more so than anyone else. They're like, this singer's horrible and they shouldn't sing. And then 20 years later, they become this huge sensation singer. I don't mean the auto-tune singers. I'm talking about, talking about just singers that just don't have it, the pipes, so to speak. But yeah, so no, musician, if you make music, you're a musician. And then you can throw in later if you're, a professional musician. This is a true story. I don't know why, but it was Rick Beato that asked me this, or asked us at a table. I shouldn't say it. It's not like a name drop, like, oh, I was hanging out with Rick Beato. But I was at an event, and there was a bunch of YouTube channels there, and Rick Beato was there, and we were all eating barbecue and at the table. And it was like Rhett Shaw, RJ Ronquillo, Rick Beato. I'm trying to think who's sitting at the table. There's a bunch of them there, but I'm trying to think who's at the table with us. There was a couple of people. It was Robert, who owns part of Friedman Amps. And the relevance of this stuff is Rick Beato, I don't know what he did with it, but he asked every single person, what is a professional musician? And he asked me, and I just remember this. I go, I don't know, anybody who makes money making music? And he says, that's what everybody says. And apparently he didn't like the answer. I don't mean like he was upset. He's just like that, he was I think it was disappointment. Like, really? Everybody's giving me that answer. I think he was trying to do a video or work up an idea in his head, like what makes a professional musician. But that's what I think of as a professional musician, as somebody who makes money at it. Fret Level Midnight says, there are musicians and then there are talented musicians. Sure, of course. These are two different things. I can see that point. It's tough, right? It's funny how this works. There's always this weird, like, you're trying to be nice. You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I don't really think that's what it is. For me, and everybody's going to have different feeling about this. And for me, everything is a cautionary tale of mistakes. Look, the first time I heard Primus, I thought it was dog shit. Excuse my language. It was horrible. My friend came to me, I'll never forget this. It was before class, before first period class, sitting in front of the school. Talk about a vivid memory. He walks up with it, doesn't even ask me. He just throws headphones on me. You know, the old ones with the foam rubber little things. And he sticks on my head and he plays me Too Many Puppies, right? And he's like, too many puppies. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And he's like, it's Primus. And I go, this is horrible. Not like horrible because his puppy thing was stupid. It's just horrible music. I thought it was the worst thing ever. I thought it was a joke. I was like, what did he get, a 4-track cassette player and make crap? I remember like, get this off. And I was like, eh. And he would not shut up. And it was like at lunchtime, he's like, listen to this. And I was like, ah. And then, long story short, I love Primus. So that's the problem. Right? That's the problem. That's why I'm cautionary. Fret level McKnight's absolutely correct in his statement. The reason I'm personally cautionary is I have a list of bands that I can tell you that I thought were just horrible. And now I love them. And I can tell you bands that I thought were amazing when I heard them. And now if I listen to them, I almost want to just immediately stick my head underwater for about 6 minutes. And that's just what it is, right? So that's why I said it's you got to be a little open-minded to it, but there's nothing wrong with being a little critical of it as well. So, yeah. He's talking about first time he heard Winona's Big Brown Beaver, he lost it. Yeah, it's weird. It was weird. And you know what's great about Primus for me is it was so weird that it opened up things to me that I wouldn't have considered before. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have listened to Suicidal Tendencies if I didn't I didn't hear Primus. I know it's not really connected, but it is connected, right? It's like all of a sudden I started hearing music as something different than I immediately just like this, or this person is just, talented. Obviously Les Claypool is talented, but to me, it wasn't never Les Claypool was never the issue. It was that guitar player's noises were just so weird and the whole thing was weird. But now I like it. Oh, by the way, that leads me down the road to Frank Zappa, by the way. That's how that opens up, right? All of a sudden, you're like things that are just not so easily defined as consumable, easy consumable music. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay. And it taught me the lesson I really needed to learn in life. And I learned it very young, and I'm very happy, which is not everything is a one listen. You got to listen to some stuff a few times. It's okay to still hate it. I can listen to a band 10 times and at the end go, still garbage. But I definitely give it that that extra second, third, fourth shot. So okay. I'm sorry. I'm just reading some of you guys' comments about skill levels and stuff. It's a great conversation. I love talking about, musicians and when they're real and not real. Jesse says, what is your preferred pickup height for your core Mira? I don't have a pickup height preference, and I couldn't tell you what it is. I mean, if I measured it, it would, I could be like, oh, it's, 1.5 millimeters from the top of the pickup to the bottom of the string or whatever, 2 millimeters. I don't have a preference. I do everything by ear. I just adjust them. I know I preach this all the time. This thing is so stupidly priced, $50, but it's so freaking good. In fact, I did this on my thing. I grabbed the wrong one. This, when I did the 10, cool, things that I just did, the stocking stuffers, I grabbed the one that I wore the logo off. I kind of felt bad. I was like, I wonder if Stu Mac's going to watch that and be like, why do you scratch off our label? I didn't scratch it off. It was just worn off. This one's new. I told you I have one of these upstairs and downstairs. And I have it because it's everything I need basically to make any adjustments to bridges and stuff. And so I keep it with me wherever I go, and I can make pickup adjustments. And so that's what I do. I play guitar right now, and I'll be like, it's a little hot. Lower the pickup a little bit, raise it. I just go off my ear. I've always just done that. I find that's just, I kind of find that it's just not something that's so easy to set and say this is what it is. I find it different. And so my point to you with the mirror is I might have the pickup set a certain height for months and months, if not years, and then playing something and maybe the amp's not kicking, and I'll raise the pickup out of. I'll just grab this real quick and raise the pickup, just something, just get through the whatever I'm trying to get through. Happy Go Lucky says, Merry Christmas. Thank you for all the thoughts, advice, entertainment throughout the year. You're welcome. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the channel. Paul Gilbert's God. That's awesome. Says, I'm going to say you're a fan. Just a little fan. Says, hey, Phil, I recently picked up a red knob twin. Oh, yeah. From Fender. Nice. Love the amp, but the faceplate is damaged. Do you have any experience replacing the faceplates? I don't. Not on those amps. I have no idea. Like I said, I've never really done any amp repair at all. It's just one of those things. Once you got a skill set, you just kind of ride the skill set that pays the bills. And amps, to me, amp repair is like drums to me. I mean, if I thought I could figure out how to do it, and put the time into it, I would do it. I'd love to be a drummer. I'd love to fix amps. Both those things appeal to me on so many levels, but it's like that wasn't the path I grabbed. And then again, I got to focus on the path that's, that works for me and where I have my skill sets and where I can keep honing my skill sets. But I do want to learn more. I just do. Like I said, trying to get the time. Guitar Chimp did a super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel. Tone Boner. Nice. That says, hey, Phil, I've seen you play a Friedman Vintage S, but I have not seen a demo or review of it. Do you still have it? I don't have it anymore. Now I have a Friedman Telly T series, and that's what I did. I sold it. Not Fret Level. Music Therapy Laz has it now. He bought it. Why did I get rid of it? Why did I get rid of it was because, believe it or not, here's what happened. I should have picked the Telly in the first place. And that's just the thing. That was my real instinct to get the Telly. I played one of the vintage tees from Friedman. I loved it. Everything was perfect, and it didn't work out for me to get it. And then, over time, the opportunity was for the S, the vintage S. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the vintage S. And then I got it, loved it, plays amazing, sounds amazing. But I was like, yeah, I think I need to get the Telly. So I flipped it to put the money in the Telly. That's what I did. I have not reviewed the Telly, but as you guys see, I haven't reviewed a lot of the guitars. In fact, I was thinking about, I don't know when it's going to be, but I will do it. It's going to be a horrible video, but I still want to make it. I was looking around the other day at all the stuff I acquired or bought in the last year or so that I haven't reviewed. It's a big pile of stuff that I just don't show you guys. And so, this is something that when I get to talk to other YouTube channels, there's a consistency in all of us talking about this. It's like we don't actually review the stuff we buy all the time. I just got a guitar yesterday, and I have no plans to review it. And I'm like, I should review it. Actually, what am I talking about? I just got two guitars, because I was trading. Towards the end of the year, that's what I like to do. I'd like to take everything and I'm just like, I'm done with this. And I go ahead and trade it. And, so I traded it. One of the guitars I just got is, right there. It's a little dark. You can't see it, but, that's a Jackson Dinky arch top hardtail made in Japan. It's not fancy, but a cool guitar. And, so like I said, stuff like that comes in and you get it and you just, own it and you play it and you never do a video because I don't know. I don't know why I don't do a video. I think it's because your brain is always like, well, people want to watch this, and sometimes I forget, that it's about, I guess more than that. I don't know. Think of this: the copper Delos guitar. I was not required to do a video at all for that. That was none of that stuff. I did the video yesterday. Thank you guys for watching that video. No matter how that video looks and feels, that was just because I wanted to share that with you. But that was for me. So and it is not part of anything, nothing. That's why a lot of you guys I told you guys I found a way to get Kiesel's got a package name, so if you call them you can get, at least they'll know, the person you're talking to will know what's in my guitar, but there was nothing agreed upon that I would do a video or anything. I just decided to do it. The next question was, anyone know what's Phil's straps? It's not to me, but I'm going to answer it. It says, anyone knows what Phil's straps are? The ones with the clip locks. They're all DiMarzio clip locks. All my guitars have DiMarzio clip locks straps. I have a couple regular straps that I like, but I mean a couple, and I don't use them ever. I pretty much use all clip locks. And as I've said before, because this show is about hanging out and just talking stuff. One thing that you can tell, man, is when you see the clip lock, that guitar is staying. Or at least I think it's staying. So like when you look, you can see, I mean, obviously if they're new, that one's new. That one doesn't have a strap lock, clip lock, but it will soon. I'm just trying to match it up with the right one. But see, clip lock, right? No clip lock, right? No clip lock, clip lock, clip lock. You see how this is going? No new one on the Kiesel because it's new. So you can see, that's how you can really tell what's going on. If a guitar is visiting or if I'm unsure, because like I told you, I'll keep guitars for months and months and months. And like a lot of you, I'm just trying to figure out, is it worth having? Is it not worth having? Am I going to play it? I have to use the guitar. If I don't use the guitar, it's got to go. Just got to go. Vipe D, I took your advice to Luke. Wait, hold on. I took your advice to Luke about selling LP Studio 4, a Sire. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what he's saying. He's Sire L7 last week and bought the SG. Thanks. Okay, so I think he says, I took your advice about selling the Les Paul Studio for the Sire, and he bought an SG. And he also wants to thank Mrs. McKnight for the swag, because he got a swag pack. That's awesome. Thank you. I'll let her know you thanked her for that. And also, that's cool that you got the SG. I'm an SG guy. It took me forever to figure out I was, but I am. It's just how it is. I don't know what it is about SGs. I don't find anything about the way they look appealing. I don't hate them or anything. Just don't appeal. But man, I just love playing them. Just love it. Some people love the way they look. I don't know what it is. Some people don't. Jason says, hey, Phil, thanks for the show and the other stuff you do. I bought a PAL 800, which is a Pedal Pal 800, and the Prometheus because of your reviews. Oh, good. So I'm on the hook for those. So hopefully you like them. It says, looking for my first big amp purchase, Engl Fireball or Bogner Ecstasy. Why one over the other? Sure. Okay. So, by the way, thank you for supporting the channel by buying stuff that people send out and stuff. And Pedal Pal 800 is a fantastic pedal, and so is the Prometheus. The amps thing, I will tell you, I have the Bogner Ecstasy. I have the Ecstasy 50, I got a 3534, which is like kind of like I want to call it the affordable crazy price Bogner, because some of them are expensive. This is expensive, but then they're more expensive. And here's what I can tell you. Okay, so in fact, I can tell you, that's when I said I got a new guitar yesterday. That's what that was. I basically like to experiment. It's one of the benefits of the channel, trying stuff. I get to share it with you guys. And I get to, that's the benefit to me. Now I'm trying stuff and kind of exploring. And then because I'm sharing with you guys, I can churn it, get it out of my system, try other stuff. That being said, I did a video recently where I compared the Soldano SLO30 to the EVH 5150. And in that video, I said I preferred the 5150 overall to the SLO30, and that's absolutely true. Here's what's funny about that. I just traded that 5150 away and some other amps to get a guitar, and the reason is because I like my Engl Fireball the most. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm not telling you, and this is important that you know this, Jason, I am not telling you that the Engl Fireball sounds better than the Bogner Ecstasy. I'm not telling you it sounds better at all. I'm telling you that I like it more. I can tell you I have the Ecstasy 3534 and I have the Bogner Fireball 25. And I just what I got rid of was my MT15 by Thomann. If any guys are local, I traded it to Zim's Guitars for a beautiful Music Man Saber. I mean, it's beautiful. And so he's got them there if you want them, if you're local, because they're still in boxes. That's how new they were. I still had them in box. I just bought them. I bought the 5150, so I put it right back in the box. I never even opened the foot switch. Loved it. Like I said, I liked it better than the SLO, but ultimately I like my Engl more. This Bogner I like a lot, but if I can only keep one of the Engl and the Bogner, I keep the Engl. I don't know why, but for high gain metal sounds, and that's what I'm after for this stuff, I think the Engl just does it for me, for what I need. And what I need is high gaining sounds that aren't super loud. Having the attenuator built into the back of the Engl and having the noise gate, it just does it for me. It's just, it sounds great. And I can honestly tell you, and I believe this, that the Bogner Ecstasy and the 5150 even, and maybe the Saldano, I don't know, all when turned up are going to be more, better than the Engl. I don't know if better is the right word, but maybe I would prefer them more. But that's not the world I'm living in. I'm living in a world where I got to keep them moderately leveled, and the Engl just does it for me. I like it. So there you go. So I would pick the Engl Fireball. I'm not telling you to do. I'm telling you what I would do. That's the ones I did. And by the way, I only bought the Bogner because, like I said, I got that Bogner Mini, and I was like, okay, I'm really digging this. I sold the Archon, and then I got the Bogner, and I'm happy I got the Bogner, but I'm kind of not, because I think that's why I purged some amps yesterday, is because I'm kind of like, I keep looking for something I think that I'm gonna like more than Engl Fireball, and I'm just not finding it. I just I should leave it alone. So it's fine the way it is. Rock Daddy says, Merry Christmas. Which 2 guitar videos flopped? I bought the Dan Electro 6-string and the baritone. Do I have floppy guitars? No. When I say guitar videos flopped, it's not the guitars that did bad. It's the cost to profit, right? That's what a flop is to me. It's personally not it's not something I view as you guys look. It doesn't matter if the videos get 10 views or 10,000 views or 100,000 views for any other factor than if it's cost me money. For instance, what I mean by that is, if I buy an amp for $1,000 that I'm not buying for me. Like, for instance, the Sire guitar, that Epiphone, those guitars, I didn't buy those guitars for me. They're not guitars I was looking for. They're not guitars I was personally interested in having for any reason. They were guitars that you guys constantly talked about. And I thought, okay, if I get these guitars, I buy them and I do videos about them, then maybe you'll be interested in watching them. And that tends to happen. But every once in a while, it tends not to. So there you go. That's why I do the year-end reviews. I really believe that those are really what you guys should watch if you're curious. Like, do I still really think something about a guitar, an amp, or whatever I did? You can go back to that. Okay. I know I have a super chat. I'm looking at non-super chats right now. Hold on. I'm just looking real quick what you guys are talking about. Paul Leonard Paul. Paul says the Engl Powerball pedal is so good, guys. With the amp, I use it for their fly rig when they can't take their amp. I have the Engl Powerball pedal. Look, the Engl guys have been very nice to me. As I told you guys, that I met them in Germany, and then they said, "Hey, would you like to check out the Fireball?" And I'll tell you, because again, I kind of upset them a little bit. Because when they said, would you want to check out the Fireball 25? And I said, absolutely. I told them the story about how I had a 100-watt Fireball, and it was one of my favorite amps of all times. And I sold it to get the Gig Master. And then the Gig Master I didn't love. It's a good amp. If you have a Gig Master, it's a good amp. It's not, when I said, notice I said I didn't love it. There's nothing wrong with it. Just didn't bond with it. And I didn't think anything of it, but I guess you could tell it I hit them a little not like they got mad or anything, just kind of bummed them out, because I'm talking about how I don't like one of their amps, and I got rid of their other amp. So they sent me the Fireball 25, and of course I fell in love. And then what happened was, I just wanted the amp. So I said, if you give me a deal on the amp, I'd like to buy it. And they were nice. They said, you just keep it. I'm like, done. That's easy. Now, here's what's interesting about that. one of the things is, some channels charged them for that. So my video did really well. Sometimes that's really nice, right? The video does really well. They saw a lot of dividend from it. And of course, they didn't have to give me a lot to do the video. So it kind of worked out for everybody, in my opinion, right? I got this amp that I absolutely love, as you hear me talking about. You guys got a great video, and they got some marketing, basically. They got their word out there for very cheap. So when it came to the Iron Ball SE, they asked me this is why I said, really cool guys. This is the relationships I hope to have with companies, right? So when they have, I like to share them with you. So they reached out to me again. They said, hey, it's been a year or so. Would you like to check out the Iron Ball SE? I said, absolutely. And they said, what would you charge to do a video? And I said, I don't want to charge anything. I said, I want to try that amp. I'm really curious. I said, I love the Fireball. And if it's like the Fireball with effects, this is great. Slightly different, but like it. And this is what they did. I guess they had a budget assigned to pay me or do something or pay channels or whatever. And they said, well, if you don't mind, we'd like to send you the 112 cabinet with it. And I said, oh, you don't have to do that. That's awesome. So they sent the 112 cabinet and the amp and the Powerball pedal. And which is crazy. I know a lot of you guys are like, see, I like telling that story because it's really nice to hear that companies are like that. I want you guys to understand though, but because for me, that's a really cool story. For some of you guys are like, it's kind of weird, but I want you to understand for every one of those stories, I have 5 where the companies were just horrible and, they basically everything's a nightmare. So it's really nice when companies like what I took from that is they appreciate what you do. They appreciate that you like their product. And so I agree with Paul right now, that Powerball pedal. In fact, that Powerball pedal right now in my other room right now is playing it. And I was just playing it a couple nights ago through my Dirty Shirley of all things. And I was thinking to myself, maybe I should do a video on this pedal. They didn't ask for a review or anything. And I go, it's something I think I want to share with you guys. So I might share that pedal with you. So yeah, started running my Engl Iron Ball SE through a 212 V-type cabinet. Love it. I really like it. I agree. I like them a lot. David wants to know if I've tried or have had Fano guitars. I've played Fano guitars. I like them a lot. I played the Dennis Fano ones when he had them, and I played the ones since then. Not in any kind of capacity where I could tell you anything other than I picked one up and kind of plucked around on it. They're here in town. They stopped me. Years ago, they stopped me at the NAMM show and said, "Hey, we make guitars." They're literally 30 minutes from my house, if that. And they said, "We want you to come to the facility." And I said, "Okay." And then I followed up with them, and then they never followed up. And then I like a year later, I think they finally emailed me and said, "Oh yeah, we got to do that." And I followed up again. I think I followed up again, and then I never heard anything again. So, but I would definitely always go there if they were interested and make some content and talk about it for you guys. I think it'd be cool stuff. Okay. Oh, sorry. Next question is from, I don't want to butcher the name. I don't know why I can't read it. Gamal? I don't know. I'll just go with the question. Happy holidays, Phil. Not sure if you're still taking super chats, but there's a beer on me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, did you talk about the PRS Silver Sky SE? I definitely did not talk about that. Are you excited as I am? Question mark. So let's get back to I definitely did not talk about the PRS SE. I did not. At all. I have not talked about PRS SE. If you guys saw, obviously Paul Reed Smith, the company, and I think John Mayer too, but definitely Paul Reed Smith, the company, dropped the teaser. PRS SE, January 11th. What's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. And all I can tell you is this, okay? And I'm going to say this in a very, hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. If there was a PRS Silver Sky coming out SE on the 11th, if there was, and if I had one right now, and if I was looking at it off camera right now, I would tell you guys that I promise that the first second they allowed the video out, which is January 11th probably, I would make sure if I had it and I was going to do a video, that my video was going to be very detailed and going through exactly all the details of the guitar and looking inside of it and doing all this stuff and giving you a very clear expectation of what it is. that being said, the only thing I could also say is if I did have one, if you were concerned it's not going to be cool, I would say I wouldn't worry about that. So that's it. That's probably way more than I was probably allowed to say in the first place, which is nothing because I said absolutely nothing about the SE. Okay, so McDowley, McDowell, I don't know. Sorry, McDooley. I don't know what's wrong with me. Dowley. I'm gonna say Dowley, and I'm probably butchering your name, and I apologize. He says he's gassing for a J45. I'm okay with budget, or could wait. Suggestions? No, do it if you got the budget. They're only gonna go up. Not my main acoustic. Thought both of the guilds and Epis seem great. Yeah, look, if you're gassing for a J45, get it. That's the rule of the channel. If you ask if you shoot a guitar, you should get it. And definitely J45 is a fantastic guitar. Definitely get it. And then Gamil, again, if I'm saying these names wrong, I apologize. Says, also, what's your thoughts on the Fender Acoustasonics? They're having a sale on the Tele and the Strat for a good amount, and I'm considering getting one. I've not tried one. The closest I've got to one of the Acoustasonics was one was locked into a guitar hanger at a Guitar Center, and I was able to put my hand around the neck and go, okay, this is what the neck feels like, but it was locked. And, and there's nobody in the acoustic room, and I was like, I should maybe go get somebody, but I wasn't interested. So I don't know anything about them. I don't know, and I think if you're like me, I feel like half the videos out there are like they're great, and half the videos are like they're not great. So I don't know. It's been really confusing as an instrument for me. So I don't know. I don't have any reference of that. And it's definitely something that would not. That's a guitar for me. I would only buy if it's great. For me. I mean, that's something I think I would use and play. I think it's cool, like a Godin A6, but it'd have to be great because to me, I can buy a brand new Godin A6 for $1,000 and I already know it's cool. So it's for almost, so I would consider, that's what I would tell you too. If they're a really good deal, maybe consider it, but also keep looking at the Godin A6. That's a really great guitar. I mean, that's a tried, true, tested, toured with guitar by tons of musicians use that all the time, everywhere. It's a great guitar. It's relatively inexpensive. You can pick them up $700, made in Canada, of course, $700 used all day long. And they're good. Like I said, I liked them more than my Taylor T5, but some people may like the Taylor T5 more. I liked my A6 more than the Taylor T5. Mr. Ortiz says, hey, Phil, regards from Mexico. Thank you for everything you share with us. It's safe to say you have changed more than one life. Hey, that's heavy, man. I appreciate that. To quote AC/DC, have a drink on me. I love how every show is everybody's trying to get me drunk. I love that. Merry Christmas and New Year gear. You know what? Larry Mitchell's going to do a live thing tonight, and he asked me to do a bump for him. A bump is where they, we do a little clip and put it out, unless you're from the 80s, and a bump is this bad thing about drugs. But anyways, and the bump, and he said, I said, this is, hey, Larry, this is Phil McKnight, Merry Christmas stuff. And I said, and New Year gear. And then after I filmed it and I sent it to him, I thought, I should have said, and Happy New Gear. Because that's forever. That's what I'm going to say now. Merry Christmas and Happy New Gear. Fred Levo Midnight says, I do not understand the appeal of the acoustic pancake guitar at all. Ugly, overpriced, in my opinion. Really, I understand the appeal. I just don't. It's like you want it to be great. So I understand why. Look, I want it to be. An acoustic guitar that feels an electric guitar is like a dream. The problem is you want it to sound like an acoustic guitar. I don't need an acoustic electric. I don't need an electric guitar that's just louder. I want a guitar that sounds like an acoustic plugged in. Because acoustics are great, but they're a pain in the ass plugged in. A lot of times they don't sound as good as they did acoustically plugged in, and not that they're bulky, but you get the idea. So I get the appeal. I just don't. I do agree when you say they're overpriced. I don't know what the right price is, but that's a shell shocker of a price. I mean, it's like $2,000. I think the made in Mexico ones are like 12. So I don't know. But I don't know. Lance says, he's saying nice things, so I'll just gonna get to he says, I built 5 guitars. I appreciate the nice things, Lance, by the way. And I wire them up, and I'm learning to play them. Love you, man. And you're my favorite. Well, you're my favorite right now too. That's, I always tell my kids that I this is true. I'm not making this up. I tell my kids, my favorite kid is whoever's closest to me. So whoever's next to me, I go, you're my favorite. And they go, what about me? And I go, you're not closer to me. So whichever kid's close to me is my favorite, is what I tell them. I've been telling them that for years. Maybe I hope they think it's funny. Otherwise, I'm traumatizing them. Okay. How are we doing on time? Oh, good. We're going to button this up and it's actually raining in Arizona. It just stopped. This is crazy. It's been raining all day, which is crazy. Let's not do any more super chats. So please no more super chats. Let's just let me just stay in the lessons, or in the message side, and see what we can find out what you guys are talking about. Oh, Sweetwater doing Happy New Year. Smart. Hold on a second. Okay, Mike, by the way, he's a member. Thank you, Mike. Mike says, hey, if I buy something from Sweetwater you have reviewed, how do I make sure you get credit on Sweetwater comment section? I always say that if you talk to a company, like a brand, like, Fender or Gibson or, Harley Benton, maybe Harley Benton, I don't know. Ibanez, Sire, and you talk to them and you say, hey, I saw, Phil McKnight on YouTube. And I always appreciate that, because that affirms to them, that this is a good play. In other words, sending guitars out to the channels is a good idea, or sending product out so we can talk about it and look at it is great. And so I appreciate that when you guys do that, because believe it or not, my job, this YouTube gig, which I've been doing for many years now, and no matter how much you do, this is good news. I always say this: if you have a small channel, here's the good news. Is the bad news I'm going to give you is the good news. I don't care how many subscribers you got, and I'll say this over and over again. I don't care what all these little channels say when they say this stuff. I don't care what anybody says on YouTube. There is no number that I have seen where you get any respect from companies as a whole. What I find is companies either respect you as a person, and that's just their attitude. For instance, i.e. like the Engl guys are just really cool to me, or Pedal Pal, Luis and Alvaro become friends, or Lawrence and I become friends, or Larry DeMargio and I become friends. Like, you just meet people and you like them, so you tend to talk to them. John at Bad Cat, you become friends. None of them look at my channel or what I've done with the channel as some kind of like qualifier of anything. They just we get along and we talk, and then we do business with each other because we're friends, and you want to do business with people you enjoy to interact with. The reason I tell you that is there's this constant thing that I see, and I see it more and more now, especially with small channels, and I understand why they're doing it, but they're not really educated on it, so they're just shooting out their ass, which is like, oh, if you have this channel, then the companies bow to you. Sweetwater, and this is why I'm telling you this, Mike, because it's good. I'm going to tell you how to help me, but I'm also going to tell you why some of it doesn't matter. Sweetwater's a $1 billion company, and I'm a gnat. We're all gnats. We're not on the radar. Fender's the same thing. Everybody, you guys see it all the time. Fender sends out 50 guitars to 50 channels. I'm not on the radar, so they don't send me guitars. It's not a personal thing. I don't have a vendetta. They don't have a vendetta against me. There's no issue with me and Fender. Just whoever's doing the marketing doesn't see my channel. It doesn't exist to them. Because they go on YouTube and there's 50 other channels that just pop in their feeds, right? Maybe they like Mary Spender, and then Mary Spender leads them to another channel and another channel and another channel, and that's the channels they end up seeing as relevant to them, and I just don't put on the radar. That being said, the reason I say that is because that's why sometimes when I do work with a company, especially when I'm buying guitars, you know what I mean? When I'm personally buying them and you guys liked it, and if you have an opportunity to tell a company that was successful, that helps me, because maybe next time I don't have to buy the guitar to do the video, they can send it out. All that being said, When you guys buy from Sweetwater, I will tell you guys over and over again, please call them and get a deal. Just ask for a deal. Look, Sweetwater doesn't pay my medical insurance. They're not going to be the make or break for my channel. Like a lot of channels, they are another entity like Amazon, like Reverb, who have affiliate links, and affiliate links, like I said, are you guys randomly click things, and then when you buy things, there's percentages given to the channels. And I will tell you what I tell my close friends. I have friends, they don't do it so much, but they used to do it all the time. They go, call me or text me. They're like, hey, send me a link. I'm going to buy something right now, and I want you to get credit. And I'm like, I appreciate that. But honestly, this is just to give you a reference to this. I tell my friends, if I typed up a link and created a link and sent it to you, the time it took, what I got would never make sense for that time, right? The way the affiliate links work is like a minefield. You just put them all over everywhere on your videos. And then as you guys click and are interested in things, just randomly people buy things, and then they send you. And then, like I said, I do 1.2 million views per month on YouTube. And if 1% of those people click on a link and then 1% of those people buy stuff, it translates into something that helps the channel, which is good. And that's why I like doing it. But when it comes to this stuff, I would rather you guys get 10% off a cook, because what they give me is not nearly what they would give you. So for instance, I believe most of you could get 5 or 10% off if you ask. They're not giving me 5 or 10%. So I would rather I'd rather you save $50 than give me 5. Does that make sense? It will happen or it won't happen. So the point is, the reason, one, I know that, Mike, that's not the core of your question, but I wanted to go to that. And the reason I say that is this, like I told you, the Sweetwater guys, they watch the podcast a bunch of times. They might see this one and they watch what you guys asked about, and they've sent it out to the channel, and they've interacted with a lot of channels. And I think Sweetwater gets YouTube, I'd like to say better than everybody else, but they're the only ones that seem to get it at all right now. So as a retailer platform, AMS gets it a little bit too, but I think that's mostly just Greg, the guy who does it there. I think he's smart and he knows what he's doing. And I don't know if his company's too on the ball. I don't know. I just know that Sweetwater is actively paying attention to this market and to you guys and what's going on. And that's why you see it so much. I keep saying you're going to see lots of Sweetwater because they're going to keep actively, they're seeing the opportunity right now. My point is, if you were to call Sweetwater and tell them like, oh, I saw a video with Phillip McKnight, that is very kind of you, but it doesn't translate anything to me. They don't do anything. They don't go, oh, a lot of people said they like you. They like I said, it doesn't, what secures Sweetwater basically, and this is why I'm trying to tell you this, Sweetwater, I predicted this for my channel. I said months and months ago, and if not years ago, I said Sweetwater will start actively working with tons of channels. And I kept saying that over and over again. And I kept saying you're going to see Sweetwater everywhere you go. And a lot of you guys are probably getting Sweetwater to death and Donner pedals to death. And the reason is because they put out affiliate links. And I very, very want to be very upfront, not so much for transparency, because that's not really what's important in this particular thing. For education purposes, what I want you to know is that Sweetwater does not send me guitars because they know you guys might like the channel. They sell the guitars because they see the affiliate numbers and they know how that translates. And same with Donner. I don't get affiliate dollars from Donner, but they have what's called trackable links. They know how much activity they got. So when they see a video and then all of a sudden they see $20,000 or $50,000 or $150,000 in sold product off that video, they're like, yeah, we're going to do more of those. That's as simple as that is. And that's why I utilize that. What I do with those companies, what's nice about that, and this is why I tell you this, is if you notice how I've been interacting with Sweetwater, I've been trying to do giveaways like I see Robert Baker doing, which I think is smart because it's, one, it's cool to do, and two, it's fun. And also, I also like to do things where, for instance, this is a funny, like I said, you can't make this stuff up. It's so crazy. They sponsored my Personas video the other day, my podcast rig. What's funny about that sponsorship is I do use Personas, right? So in other words, they didn't send me that product. They just sponsored the video so I could make it. And what was great was the Persona Studio Live AR8 that I have in the video, if you pay attention, it's 2 years old, like I said, so it doesn't even look like the new one. They've changed the design since then, right? But they didn't say like, oh, it's the not relevant model number. They just said, let's sponsor it. So that's great for me. I can do a video. Think how great that is. That video I want to share with you guys.
some of you are probably not interested, but maybe some of you are. Hold on. I'm trapped in a screen that I don't know where I'm trapped. Right there. Okay. I want to go to the analytics of that video. YouTube Studio. Because I just want to give you a real number and not a guess. Please hold for 1 second. Content. Okay, so I did a video the other day where I basically talked about my personas video. Okay. I want to share this with you. So I'm going to share this with you right now. Here we go. Okay. So that video I posted, it lost 5 subscribers. So I didn't, that means I'm net 5 negative. It made $47.44 because it's Christmas time and this is peak advertising rates. Made 8,400 videos. You watched 509, whatever, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Regular viewers are choosing to watch this video less often than usual, contributing to 35% less viewer views. And does that really matter in the grand scheme of things? I don't think it does, but you could imagine what I'm trying to tell you is that basically YouTube's like, your viewers aren't interested in this. Don't make this content. And $47 is not a little. It's not nothing. It's not like the video took 2 days. As you guys know, it wasn't a really in-depth video. I had to reshoot it because a couple times got messed up. So I probably reshot it 3 times. And then if you figure editing, I probably have 4 or 5 hours into it. So about $10 an hour. Minimum wage in my state is $12 an hour. So $12 an hour, maybe. It's good. Not a windfall video by any means for a large channel. What's my point? I didn't have to think about any of that because Sweetwater's like, we'll sponsor the video. So I was like, all right, cool. It'll pay for my time and everything works out. And so I thought, but this is why I like this. This is why I like this. I want to tell you this. So great. As you saw, YouTube told me, don't make this video. Your viewers don't like it. I lost 5 subscribers net, which means probably I got like 10 and then I lost 15 and I netted -5. And I made $47. And ultimately, none of that mattered because if you look at the comments of the video, the comments are amazing. It's most of you guys going, oh, it was really cool that you gave me insight onto how you do your podcast rig. And it's like, so I like doing that video. So it kind of worked really, really, really nice when I can work with a company like Sweetwater for stuff like that. That's where I see the benefit from those relationships. So get back into Mike's question is, could you say something to them? Sure, you can do it anytime you want. Support the channel. I appreciate it. But I kind of like to give you the guys the insights of this stuff. I think that's the whole point of this weekly podcast is to talk about things that maybe you guys don't know or see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're just supposed to talk about something else. Kawaii Guitar Life says, Kowal? I'm going to say Kowal Guitar Life says he's got to go build some toys. I got to put some bicycles together, I'm sure. Fret Level Midnight says, I get more mail from Sweetwater than I do from any other company, and I don't think I've spent even a grand total through them at all. Well, they're aggressive, man. They really want to own the market or build the market. And, I mean, that's just how it is. It's a good and a bad thing. I don't know. I don't get anything from Sweetwater. Like I said, I don't have any reason, I have everything kind of blocked up. You can block all that stuff out. You can tell them, just don't send you anything. They'll do it. And I've told you guys this before. This is what I was going to say. 99% of the time, so I don't ever get caught in a misunderstanding of a lie. I don't want to be lying to you guys. 80% of the time, that's very firm. I feel 80% of the time, I'm not talking to anybody. It's my wife does most of that stuff for me, and or I'm contacting them through her, what do you call it, maiden name. And here's the funny part about this. As you guys know, 4904, suite number 151-103, Mesa, Arizona. I don't even know the address. Isn't that horrible? That's my public address. I have a public address. Company sends stuff to it every day. Okay. Anything can be sent there. Okay. Anything. You guys, that's where when you see me open fan stuff, I open that stuff, all that stuff. Everything goes there. The reason that is important is that when I order something, off like Sweetwater or Reverb or anywhere, or Dawn or anywhere I don't want them to know it's me, it's my wife's maiden name, it's my home address. They don't even know they have no clue who that is. So I do it all the time. Why do I say that? I say that because I have experienced no difference in the way that I get treated from those companies, which is I tell them, please don't send me mail, please don't send me candy, please don't call me after the sale. I just it's all requested in those accounts. So if you don't like that stuff, I would do that. Carlos said his super chat didn't get answered. Let me find it, Carlos. Let me see. You're right. I jumped it. Maybe I was scared of it. Oh, you know what? I think Tony G got missed too. Tony G said, happy holidays, Phil. Thanks for the Friday's best way to finish off the week listening to Know Your Gear. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I apologize. Sometimes it's weird how this stuff skips. Carlos says, Phil, ever think about doing a Quilter Super Block demo? I travel for a living and I'm looking for a small amp. No, I haven't thought about doing it. I did a Quilter amp back in the day. I forgot, was it the 101 right before they did reverb? I bought that one and did the video. And the only thing I didn't like was it didn't have reverb. I sold it and then they came out with reverb. But I, sadly enough, I have nothing in my, crosshairs to review that. But this is the great thing about this. And then since we're at the end of the show, this is going to be the end of the show. Maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we should have a thing once a month where we put in suggestions on what we should do the following month for reviews. I already do that with my patrons from time to time. I ask them what they're interested in, and then that's what I go for. But I also ask you guys too, because I need as broad an audience as possible. Because I want to do stuff you're interested in. Steven says, how much of a video has to be watched? I don't know. You know what it is? Like I said, if I like a good example, if I bought a guitar, I just want to, again, so we're all very clear. If I bought a guitar that I like, okay, so I don't know what that is. Like, let's say I walk in a store and I see a guitar and I buy it. I make a YouTube video with it. I don't care if I made $1 or I don't care what I make. Just like everybody else, I bought it and I'm just sharing a video. It's the only time I actually look at anything analytic-wise is because there's cost, when I have cost. So if a company sends out, let me put an example. When a company sends out a guitar and for a review and I review it, I don't go, oh, how much does this video make? Or how much it did not make? I don't really care. It doesn't really seem to cost anything. To me, it's, like I said, it's a cost equation thing. You just don't want, because I do, like I said, I try to balance the content out. I don't want to spend, 10 grand in a year to find out I made $4,000. You're like, okay, I spent six grand making content. The reason is that means that it's basically I spent $6,000 that nobody cared about because no one watched the content. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to get too much into that because I'm really not hyper focused on that as it may seem. It's more like I said, it's more about, I just want to do what's interesting. And I find like I dip out of that from time to time, what I think is fun and cool. And I want to do that too, but I also want to keep making the content that people enjoy. So I'm not old, I'm vintage says, I think he's talking about Sweetwater. I think he figured out I don't read the emails. All right. I think we're going to call it. I just want to see if there's anything I can dab on. Curtis, who's a member, says, hey, I reached out to Thomann for a discount on a B-stock item, and they replied that their customer service doesn't warrant a discount. I don't do a whole lot of business with Thomann, so I don't know. I think I've only bought like one thing from Thomann. I don't know where you're at in the world. In the U.S., Thomann's really good. Sometimes, like, you can buy certain things from Thomann just so cheap you can't buy here in the U.S. for that. I don't know if that's true anymore. Somebody told me that the shipping is getting crazy there. But here's what I would imagine. A lot of times on B-stock items and stuff like that, they kind of like, it depends. Here's where I want to go with this. Sometimes B-stock items and blims and stuff, they're eating it and not the manufacturer. There is both ways that works. Some manufacturers, and bigger companies, I would imagine, would deal with this even less. Like Thomann and Sweetwater. In our shop, if we got a blim or a B stock item and it was not good, or, in other words, not the company sent us B stock, but we got it and then, it was discovered that it was B stock, we would reach out to the manufacturer. They would give us some kind of credit towards it, and then we would pass the credit on to the customer and call it a day. But bigger companies sometimes will just eat that. So in other words, like they'll just sell it for a discount because their brain is like or not brain, but their company business model is like they bought it for $100. It normally sells for $150. They'll sell it for $120, and then they make $20. It's not what they normally would make, but at least it's gone and everything moves easy. So sometimes there's not room for them to discount. And also, just because, and again, this is the great way to end this show today, and this because of this comment, just because you called Sweetwater or you called AMS or Guitar Center or Thomann and you asked for a discount and they told you no, that doesn't mean you shouldn't ask every time. Again, it's not demand a discount. I'm never saying you should demand a discount. I don't. You ask for it. Always ask. You never know what's going on, right? I tell friends, like I've always said this for years. So I have friends and they're looking for jobs and I say, always apply. Apply all the time, everywhere. The reason is because, I like I said, my whole life hasn't been this. I've been in corporate world too. And corporate world, I remember sometimes HR would come down with mandates and be like, we need 50 people. And I remember you go through the resumes and you're like, there's like 10 people here to hire, and you give it to HR. Next thing you know, you saw 50 people because everybody's getting through. Like, I know they're not qualified, but we need bodies. So they would hire them. That logic works for everything. So like I said, you may call Curtis, you may call Thomann again, and the next time you ask, hey, is there a discount you can give me? And they just happen to know that they're about to go on blowout, or that the manufacturer's got a rebate coming or something, and then they give you the discount. Never hurts to ask. My Sweetwater guy, Brent, man, what's wrong with me? Anyways, I ask him all the time, and sometimes he says no, and sometimes he says yes. I just never. If I want it, I want it, and if I don't, I don't. But I always ask. I send the email. Hey, I told you guys when I bought those Music Nomad rulers, I said, hey, if I buy these in bulk, will you give me a deal? And he gave me a deal, and it was a pretty decent deal. I think it was like 20% off. It was heavy. It was like 15-20% off. It was decent. And then the picks, no. So when you guys are the patrons, you get the pick packs that I send you, the Hercos and the Primetones, they won't give me discounts on that. Nope, no issues. I mean, I still buy them because that's what I use. But overall, I got discounts, and that's how I looked at it. So same thing. Don't be afraid to ask. It's nothing wrong with asking anything. Like I said, just ask. Let's see. Fred Level Midnight said, Sweetwater is the most overrated company in the gear industry. I don't know why it would be overrated. You got to understand, Fred Level Midnight, they're the only ones that care about the internet. I'm going to be very, very clear. I just want to be very clear with you. Guitar Center does not give a crap about you online, your online, being online sales. Neither does Sam Ash. And like I said, I'm friends with Sammy Ash, Richard. They're great guys, great people, great family, great business. You should do business. Like I said, you should do business with them because I like them and they're good business. And I've referred a lot of friends and they've had a lot of great experiences. But they're not really interested in improving their website. They're not improving the website, the web experience. Sweetwater is not the best. They're the only one that even tries. Them taking actual pictures of guitars and weighing them, you could say that's not a big deal, but they're the only ones that do it. And now some smaller shops do it, and a couple people do it here and there. It's just that's what it is. They came in with that ideology. So it's never about. I've always thought this. It's never about them being the best. They're just the only one that's doing anything. And some of you may not care. That's fine. But as someone now, like a lot of you, who's this is where I buy my stuff now, is online. I want that experience to be as best as possible. I'm not looking for an Amazon experience when I buy a $3,000 amp. I'm not. And I'm not looking for an Amazon experience when I buy a $300 amp, where I click it and there's one picture and I don't know, I had this issue a year ago at Guitar Center where the product I was looking at, their pictures were so outdated. They were from 5 years. So they were showing a model that was 5 years old in the picture. I had to email the actual manufacturer, who flat out told me, they said, and I believe them because now I'm friends with that company and they definitely would not lie to me. They told me that they kept sending every every few months they send Guitar Center the new updated pictures of the product. And the problem I had, I called Guitar Center on the phone and they were like, they couldn't answer the question, which is what I was on the product. They added a feature, right? And the feature was missing in the picture. So I wanted to know if it was there, right? It said it was in the description. No, it wasn't in the description either because they were using outdated descriptions. Calling the manufacturer confirmed that that is the current one. And they did ship those Guitar Center, and Guitar Center should only have those in stock, and we should be okay. But yes, they can't get an update. Here's what's funny about that. How sad is that Sweetwater can just win because they just took a more update picture? That's the thing. It's not about that. By the way, and I've like always point this out, 90% of the online purchases, me personally, I still buy from Reverb. I'm still buying from mom and pops. It's collectively, I just find wherever I find stuff. Fret Level says Guitar Center isn't their own competitor. Yeah, then you don't know. I mean, and not as a large entity. I mean, maybe Reverb and small businesses, but as a large entity, they are the only competitor. It's Guitar Center Musician's Friend versus Sweetwater. That is the two entities in the U.S. Thomann over in Europe, sure, but in the U.S., I mean, Sam Ash is not. They're not in this. Guitar Center and Sweetwater are both billion-dollar entities online as singles. This is important. Here's why. This is important because we've already seen how this goes with Amazon. Somebody's clearly going to win the online market. Fred Len wants to say Z-Sounds. Z-Sounds is American Musical Supply. That's the same company. So you have AMS and Z-Sounds as one company, and they're not in the same ballpark as size as Sweetwater and Guitar Center. They're great because, like I said, I like Greg. I have a really good relationship with Greg at AMS. I don't talk to the other guy at Z-Sounds too much. I feel bad. I can't remember his name. I'm like, look, because I'm going to feel bad if I don't remember his name. At Zounds. I always say Z-Sounds, but it's Zounds. I can't find his name. But it's the same company. Just like I said, Zounds and AMS is basically Musician's Friend and Guitar Center. It's basically the same company. That's why their warehouses look the same. Fret Level says Zounds has better financing. Sure. So does AMS because same logic. Because they're just self-financing, of course. Yeah, why do you think I always recommend them as well? They're very good as well. But here's the point. The point is those guys have to pay attention because otherwise these other guys, they gobble up the market. There's a reason why these things keep winning out the way they are. Look at Reverb. It got bought by Etsy. Again, it could be not, but that's not the experience we've seen. In Jar Jar says, what's the best way to support you? You're doing it right now. This is look, this is still how on YouTube, all my ducats, I guess, the money I make on YouTube still comes from views. That's still a huge part of it. Less than 5% of my total income I pull from YouTube is from any kind of company interaction, whether it be total product or payment. So they're still the smallest. Patrons, my second biggest. Actually, it goes like this, because there's a couple ways to make money. Company interactions, my least that I make. Then it's affiliate links. Then after affiliate links, then it's merch, which is this stuff. Then after merch, it's Patreon, and then it's YouTube. So if you look at how all the money I get for doing this all year round, that's in like if it was a recipe or if it was ingredients on the side of the videos, it would be first I make my money from YouTube, then I make it from Patreon, then I make it from merch, then I make it from affiliates, and then I make it from manufacturers. So no, watching, what you're doing is, like I said, watching is more than anything because that's literally, and again, don't worry how long you're watching. I don't care if you watch a minute or 10 minutes, just as long as I just appreciate the support. I'm lucky to have 2 people hang out with me, much less 800 of you. Yeah, Surfby said Reverb got bought by Etsy. Yep. They sold it for $400 million to Etsy. Etsy is currently who owns Reverb, which is why the policies on Reverb are starting to mirror Etsy, which is kind of like Fret Level McKnight. What I'm getting at is that, look, I don't know how old Fret Level McKnight is. I don't know how your age is. So let me explain it in a way. I could name 20 years ago, I could name 10 Mars Music, Daddy's, I can name 10, I don't want to go through them all, but you can name 10 larger size entity music stores that were the big players. And then of course, all the mom and pops, right? And the mom and pops make up the big part. And And then now it's like just Guitar Center, right? And then Sam Ash is second. And it's just crazy. You should look online. Guitar Center is like 300 and something stores. And then Sam Ash is this, I think the three biggest chains, it's still probably the same. I'm getting to do off memory. Biggest one will be Guitar Center, about 300 and something stores. The second biggest will probably be Music Go Round. I could be wrong. I don't know how many stores they have, maybe 60. And then you have Sam Ash, and I think they're like 30 stores. So see the math? It's like crazy how it drops, right? And then, but in the theory, we've been always waiting as an industry for another Guitar Center, right? Two big entities, kind of like the Walmart, Target, right? Walgreens, CVS, whatever analogy works best for you. Looking for this two entities, because that's where you and I win, is when they have to fight for your business, we end up winning, right? Because they're working for us. When they own all the market, they don't have to work for us anymore. We're just stuck. This is your choice. Online, you guys are going to look at your personal choices. You're going to look at things that you see. Maybe you'll see like online, you see Sam Ash. You see, I just did this. I had a meeting last week. I know we're going long, but maybe this is interesting, you guys. I had a meeting last week with a company, and I was trying to explain them this kind of same logic, but with manufacturing side. And they doubted me so much, they ended the call, fact-checked me, called me back, and apologized. So thank God I had that going for me. And here's what I'm going to say. Same thing with this. So you guys will see online, if you guys see Z-Sounds, Music 123, AMS, Reverb, Sweetwater, Musician's Friend, Guitar Center. I think I said Sam Ash. I could be wrong. I'm sorry. We were just talking about the U.S., right? Maybe Music Go Round, right? Like I'm just talking online entities, right? So these are your sources in which you buy from, okay? You guys will see it as, a lot of you are going to see it like, well, I have 12 choices, okay? And that's great if that's what you're looking at. But if you look at sold, in other words, how much market share each company has, okay? It starts looking like a much different picture. So, for instance, a perfect example of this would be, okay, I'm not saying this is a fact, okay? I'm just giving you a scenario. What if I was to tell you that you could be living in a world not too distant future where 40% of all sales, so 40% of all stuff sold on the internet for guitarists is Sweetwater. And then the other 30% is Guitar Center, Musician's Friend, Music 123, and Arts and Music, whatever their chain. Okay, that's 70%. Okay. And then the other 30% is Sam Ash, mom and pop retailers, all this stuff. You guys, Music Zoo, name, right? Chicago Music Exchange, all this stuff, you add those in. This is just a theory. Again, we're not talking hard numbers, just giving you a scenario. What I want to tell you is, again, what we've seen in other industries, we see this all the time. You guys will see it as like, okay, I still have 50 choices. Really, though, if you're a manufacturer, you don't see it that way. That's what I'm saying. I have to look at it from both sides because I handle both sides of this world I live in. To the manufacturer, it's if Sweetwater says no, you're screwed. That's how it was with Guitar Center for years, right? If you're not in Guitar Center, you almost can't survive. Look, the death of Peavy, a lot of that has to lay on the feet of Guitar Center. Harley Peavy said he would never sell to Guitar Center. That was a fact. Anybody watching this that's been in this industry, I don't know how many of the 800 of you have been in this industry. Everybody knows. Harley Peavy was like, we'll never sell to Guitar Center. Then they sold to Guitar Center. Well, they sold Guitar Center because Guitar Center bought one of their biggest accounts. Guitar Center bought it and dissolved it. My point, which is why I think it's important, if you care about this stuff, this is the business side. If you just want to enjoy guitars and play, just enjoy guitars and play. This is the nerdy side of the other side of this too. It's all nerdiness. You got to understand, Guitar Center has done this in the past. They bought things and just dissolved them. Manufacturers do it too. We've seen Fender buy brands and dissolve them. We've seen Gibson buy a brand and dissolve it. The problem, though, it becomes, just like with this, is if you have 2 or 3 companies, like I said, racing to win, like I said, it equalizes out. Right now, that's not what I see. What I see in my world of being on the internet all day, watching, I got 100 million views, right? I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet. What I see is one company chasing all the internet business, and the other companies saying they're going to do it in 5 years, which they said that 5 years ago. Now they're talking about another 5 years. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So again, that's just my discussion on that. Hold on. A lot of you guys are talking about. Hold on. Yeah, some of you guys are liking the business side discussion. Again, it's just a point. It's just a point of view. It's just a point of reference, I should say, not a point of view, a point of reference. Which is why I tell you, it's not that I'm pro or against Sweetwater. I see them as the only player in the trying to dominate this market on this side of the fence. And Guitar Center's really trying to dominate the physical brick and mortar stores, which is what their plan's always been, and that's good too. But it's gonna be interesting because not since Sweetwater's inception, not since the last 10 years, since 2017, I watched Sweetwater grow at a rate. It's almost unbelievable to watch what I've seen. They added a $400 million building. This is growing. No one's growing like these guys. They're just growing and growing. That growth is going to have a change. It's just, and it actually is not going to have it. It is had a change. You see it. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. As I said, that's why I said Fret Level McKnight. I like I said, I like your insights on this stuff or thoughts. I'm just laughing at a couple of the guys' comments. But like I said, just because I want to end where I started on this, I still spend, if you look at most of the gear you see behind me, most of it comes from off Reverb. I still just deal with lots of stores. Like I said, I have tons of little stores that I just find and I like. The problem is they're not one-stop shops. You got to kind of go to who, like I said, almost all my Gibsons come from Bazaar Guitar in Reno. They always, have a good selection. I always find the guitar I want and give a good deal. So a lot of my higher-end guitars comes from Eddie's Guitars because, again, same thing. I can find a good deal and there's guitars. Good deal. I'm not looking for a deal, but when I'm ready to buy the guitar I want, if I don't have to pay full price for the guitar, that's money in my pocket, money I can save. That's always nice. And then a lot of you guys keep talking about the I like talking about the 1099s for Reverb and stuff for the $600. That's just a law changing. They just got to do that stuff. I think it was $900 before, and they weren't enforcing it. Which says, I'm not going to sell any more of my stuff. I'm just going to burn it. You can just give it away. You don't have to burn it. I know you're making a joke, but so. Yeah, BC Rich 581 says Sweetwater recently sold to a venture firm. Right. Think about this. And when that happened, there's like a ton of videos. Go watch them. There's a ton of videos. This will be the death of Sweetwater. And then my video was the only one where I was like, I think they're going to grow like crazy. And what I've seen since the venture, look, I don't know what the 5-year plan is. You're right. They could all be tanked out in 5 years, 2 years. I'm not arguing that. What I see now is it's insane what I'm seeing them doing. The growth they're after. It's crazy. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just reading stuff. I know we went long. We're still long, so we should go now. Oh, I saw one more. I don't want to miss it since there was one more that popped in. I know I said no more, but one popped in. I don't know how to refresh, apparently, this screen. I do. There it is. Oh, wow. Surf and Gus with a lot of capitals did a super chat. Thank you, man. I appreciate you supporting the channel. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Like I said, next week, New Year's Eve, we're going to do this again at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So it'll be early like today's show was. So we'll still do it. But also, like today where we did an unboxing and did some fun stuff, I want to do something fun next week. I was thinking about talking about the theme of next week, doing a theme show next week, the best and worst of 2021 for gear. And we'll talk about that. I don't really want to focus on the worst because that's, it's just an opinion thing. But I like to talk about some of the best and some of the worst gear, some of the, So think about that. If you're going to join next week, think about stuff you'd like to talk about, because I'll have a list, I'm sure, and we can talk about and to keep it fun. All right. Oh, okay. I gotta end on this. Scott, Groovy Music Lesson. Scott Grove says, "I've never been able to donate instruments to schools. They always refuse." Scott, I love it that you say that, man. Dude, I agree. It's the thing that drives me freaking crazy. I never understood that for a life of me. So I agree with you. I appreciate you saying that, because like I said, I find everybody loves to tell you, especially if you're on YouTube, you should donate that to a school. I'm like, you should try and donate to a school and tell me how that goes. I had 4. I like telling this story because it's just crazy. It wasn't even a school. It was to a Guitars in the Classroom charity. It's called Guitars in the Classroom. I reached out to them and I said, I have 4 guitars. I'd like to donate them. And they said, well, the problem is we don't really take used guitars. I said, oh, well, these are brand new in box. This is, right? They're acoustics, brand new in box. And they said, yeah, the problem is that a lot of people like to donate guitars, and then we get them and they cost more to fix them up than to play them. And I said, oh, well, we're in luck, because 1, they're new guitars, and 2, I'm a guitar tech for a living, and I literally can ensure that they play amazing for you. And of course, if I'm full of crap, I guess you just throw them in the trash, and you're right, I'm just going to give them to you. And they wouldn't take them. So if you guys remember, a lot of you guys are viewers, remember how that went down. They ended up, I've talked about that before on this show, and a school teacher reached out to me and said that they do an after-school program and they would love them, and I sent them to them. And they were just doing it themselves, an after-school program. They weren't any kind of charity or anything. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny to me. I still, to this, I understand the logic, what they said. They don't want to inherit somebody's problems, but it's just weird. All right, guys, on that note, I'm going to let you go. Have a Merry Christmas if you so choose to partake in that. If you don't, have just a great weekend. I will see you next Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll have a Happy New Year together. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for your time. And I guess I'll say know your gear. Know your gear. Oh, Happy Know Your Gear. All right, bye.